this is the president. Hello, this is the president of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. They're telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. You can check us out by going to TalkStreamLive.com. That's TalkStreamLive.com. Check us out. We're on many radio stations across the country. There's a whole list of radio stations where we are heard for the full 3 hours. Go there and download or at least listen there. Or if you have a phone, you can listen to last night's show, and you can do updates on shows by going to 701-801-3900. That's 701-801-3900. And then you can listen back to any show. Actually, you can listen back to the show before, and that is if you want to listen to it on the way to work or whatever, just plug it into your speakers and listen to it that way. It'll work too. So it's amazing. Thank you all for your well wishes. Janine and I got married on Wednesday. We have had some hectic times after just getting everything in order. You know, we were all pretty quiet and calm, and then you get married and everything has to just speed up really fast. And so we're hopefully going to be calming down. We had a few days to calm down, but now, we have to get back to work and get on with things because we're very busy. And so, once again, I'd like to thank those who gave us your well wishes. We're very excited and very happy after about 8 years of being together, and I think it's been what? Oh, had to have been. No, it couldn't have been that long. It was. It's been 4 years since we originally said we were going to get married, so it's been a while. Just because of sickness and problems, we were having a hard time. Finally, we're married and we're happy, and sometimes you have to go with what you're doing, and time slips by you, and it's one of the reasons why I think it's very important that we look at life in a very broad perspective and say that it's fragile, and it's sometimes short-lived, sometimes it's longer-lived, but find happiness in your world, and you can't do wrong. And that's the thing, is that I'm wondering how many people actually have given up on seeking happiness. It's something that, it has me worry that people have become so caught up in what they don't like, they forget to talk about the things they do like. And there seems to be this hidden agenda, this hidden esoteric progression, or this esoteric digression. I don't know what they call it. I don't know where that came from. What is that? Who turned on the phone here? I don't know what happened here. I can't get rid of it. So somebody's messing with the phones tonight right off the bat. That's weird. Anyway, so we got a phone line up, and I don't know why it's up, but it's up. So somebody please turn that phone off. That'd be nice. In the meantime, where was I? Okay, so I was talking about how seeking happiness, I think that a lot of people forget how to do this. And And so, it gets lost in the busyness. It gets lost in what you're doing. It gets lost in your job. It gets lost in the things you say you're standing up against rather than the things you're standing up for. All these things we've talked about before. We've talked about, all kinds of different ways of looking at life. And on many occasions, I've spoken of the conspiracy history idea. It's the history that is not random, but well planned out by the powerful. And when you consider it, when you think about the thought of an all-controlling oligarchy and how pervasive it may be sometimes, it gets really daunting. It can be daunting to wonder if any and all of the horror you're seeing in the world is all planned, and that many people in places of power are pretty much there to destroy your hope. They're there to destroy your lives. They're there because they're murderous bloodletters, bloodthirsty people carrying out various slaughters to traumatize those who don't know what the trauma is about and why it's being carried out. We're fully aware, many of us, those who listen to my program, who listen intently and use their critical thinking skills, we're fully aware of secret societal traps that include, sacrificing body and soul, not only for the self, but for others as well. And it sometimes is to the point of not taking care of you. And when you don't take care of you, you become open for anything. And that includes some of the bad stuff that comes along if you don't take care of you. And so when you're looking at secret societal traps, you look at conspiracy history, you have an esoteric thing called hidden history, but the history of bloodletting for the summoning of powerful changes in the world. There are those who believe that the bloodletting is for bringing about powerful changes in the world. It's kind of like an alchemy. It's not seen. I mean, people wonder why there's war, why there's bloodshed, why there's murder, why we hear of these killers and these Islamic terrorists and people killing for God and all these things. It's because of the fact that from time ad infinitum, time and beyond, there is a secret hidden history that the gods or God loves blood sacrifices. And I think some people in places of power take it to the nth degree. And they believe that their power comes from sacrificing people, killing people, taking their souls, giving them pain. And this creates a very, very negative force. Demonic. It's the summoning of some demonic power. And the history of bloodletting for the summoning of demonic power isn't really hidden. We see it every day. It's being conducted by governments, and it's also consecrated by some of the leaders of various religious sects. And we all have been expounding upon this so-called religion of peace known as Islam as the scapegoat for all bloodletting in the world today. And it's true that the frequency of bloodletting is not letting up by extremist Muslims. To say otherwise is absolutely ludicrous. However, the response to this bloodletting is summoning a force so dark and so deadly that other religions of peace are becoming less peaceful and more militant. And this creates an environment that is ripe for violent manifestation. And I mean this. I mean, people think that in the safety net of religion, they can say whatever they want and they can be as hateful as they want because they think they're going to be forgiven of their hatred. That's not true. If hate is spewed from the pulpit, there will be condemnation that'll come from that hatred. And Islam has to understand that those extremists could bring all kinds of peril on Islam if they do not activate against what these extremists are doing to other people. Same goes for Israel, same goes for us, same goes for anybody else who has militant groups within their religion that are there for empire building, and they will kill, slaughter, murder innocents in order to get to that goal. There is nothing noble about that at all. So get it out of your head if you think for 1 minute that you responding the way you do to extremism, if it's a hateful way of responding, is not going to come back and bite you. Because it is. There's a reason why we learn throughout time that the best leadership are the leaders that rule by example. And there are many leaders throughout time that we revere. For most people in this country, it's Jesus Christ. I'll say it, it's true. And that is why it's valuable to emulate at all times that consciousness. Emulate that spirit. And it may not be a Christian spirit. It may be a spirit where you find yourself at peace and Zen or whatever it is you feel. It's vital. It's vital that we participate and practice good things in our lives. Our response now is our responsibility to what is happening. And lately, there's been some response on the internet. There's been some response from a pastor in Sacramento. There's been some response from a lot of people who, in my opinion, are creating a tulpa. And it's a very, very dangerous tulpa. And they're becoming more, they're becoming less peaceful, more militant. And we always thought we were better than them, those extremists that are committing these murders. We are better than them. And we need to continue to be better than them. Not to be victims, but to be strong and to be stern and steadfast, not hateful, belligerent, or militant. Be strong and know that we are going to pull through all of this if we just keep our senses about us. But unfortunately, that's not happening. And what awaits us is something very dark and very pervasive. And it's just something that we need to consider. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
And we all know that big things are being planned. I promise you, big things are being planned for the future. And that future is not too far away. That future will most definitely be something that might frighten you. And it is because of where our minds are. We have said before that there is random history, conspiracy history, and there are things that are planned, and the technocrats call it a hidden history, behind the scenes, and it's all circled or it's all centered around bloodletting, destruction, catastrophe. And this is done to summon powers. You can call them demonic powers, chaotic powers, whichever powers they can use to obfuscate whatever it is that the American people think they're a part of. The entire world is being subjected to this type of dynamic. People from all walks of life are falling for the anger and the mistrust and the disenchantment, the Hegelian dialectic, where the solution is waiting. All we have to do is beg for it. It'll be a solution that we don't necessarily want, but we decide that a quick fix is what we need. And so we're willing to make a deal with the devil in order to get the safety or to get that comfort that we're seeking. Every conceivable entity known to either restrain or destroy you will be entering into the tabernacles, the synagogues, and the mosques. It'll be entering into meetings of government and gathering places where communities can be marked for spiritual maltreatment. This is something that I sense. My intuition has been raised. And I know that the majority of people in the Western culture, our culture, seem to believe that with the end of the world coming, that we will see it as just a physical event, but it's not. It's a spiritual event. It's not always a major earthquake or a coronal mass ejection or a collision with a meteor or some global thermonuclear war. The events are happening all around us with great frequency. It leaves people wondering that perhaps in a flash, some great catastrophe will wipe out entire cities and create megadeth scenarios. However, the world only ends when hope ends, when hope ceases to exist. The reality is that our apocalypse and eventually our so-called Armageddon begins as an internal and spiritual breakdown. And those in our culture have become far more materialistic in their view of what the apocalypse might be or what it is, and they tend to ignore the warning signs of spiritual and mental decay. What are we seeing? What exactly are you saying? I think that what we're seeing now is something that I learned in Sunday school called apostasy. An apostasy, a rejection of all things spiritual in the world. And even those who think they're spiritual, who spew hate, are not spiritual enough. It takes strength, spiritual strength, not to weaken in front of those around you under peer pressure and fall for prejudice and stick to a normalcy bias that's not normal. They program you into thinking it's normal, but it's not normal. The destructive group dynamic is the same type of dynamic they use to render cults, to bring cults into the world. It's a full rejection of logic in favor of programming devised by the power elite for the benefit of the establishment of the New World Order or the world empire. The religious, political, and philosophical schisms are meant to occur, and metaphoric demons or even real demonic manifestations will appear in an unbelieving world. What I'm trying to tell you is that all things unbelievable will be revealed in due time, and it may be sooner than we realize. Demons can be conjured like viruses, and they can be force multiplied. And those who seek with their spiritual eyes and their critical thinking will be able to identify the parasitic consuming dark energies. As it is said in the good book, by their fruits ye shall know them. There are people in power, both politically and religiously, that want to plant seeds that bear bitter fruit. And you can count the seeds in a single apple, but you can't count the apples from a single seed. And when bad seeds are planted, the devil's harvest is at hand, and there will be those weak-minded individuals that will call for the purge of people who have beliefs that are different from theirs. The thoughts of purge have already begun. They are entering into the minds of people, demanding that certain people die because they don't necessarily agree with what they do. It's like that imam in Florida that said that we should kill homosexuals out of compassion. It's like that guy, Pastor Jimenez in Sacramento, that basically said he wishes war would have died in that bar in Florida. See, these are the hate spewers. These are the ones that hate. These are the ones that think they're doing the world a service, and they're sticking by their guns, and they're being biblically accurate, and they're not. They're basically spewing forth hate. And they will be condemned to be spewing hate. On either side of the coin, whether it be Muslim, Christian, Jew, doesn't matter. Hate is hate, anger is anger, and the threat and thought of death and bloodletting is spawned from the demonic forces that will eat us if we don't protect ourselves. Planting seeds that bear bitter fruit. The dark archetypes are forming. And they are forming now because we have reached the solstice point. And whenever the solstice point, whether it be autumnal or whether it be the summer, the solstice is always a high time for this type of demonic activity. Once the solstice arrives, we start seeing some changes. And those changes develop and continue to develop and grow, either good or bad. And lately, we've been hearing a lot of bad. So it's time to prepare for more of these big things that are being planned. And how they're going to carry them out, well, we just have to watch and wait. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. We'll be back.
Way down along the stream, how very, very sweet it will seem once more just to dream in the silvery moonlight. My honey, I know with the dawn that you will
Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. So, today, Ron Patton, my producer, and I, we took in a movie early. Saw The Conjuring 2. New horror film in theaters now. Rotten Tomatoes says it's an excellent film. It's not bad. I really wanted to wait for the movie to come out on video and watch it at home, but I received an email from a woman who told me that she thought the film had somehow possessed her and the demons were appearing in her home. This got me thinking about what's going on in the world and how we are now right smack dab in the summer solstice, and there's a strawberry moon outside, which is a full moon on the solstice. And people say, it's not really that big of a deal. Well, it happens every 70 years where a full moon falls on the solstice. And we know that rituals take place when we have these anomalies going on. It's not that it influences really. It's just that people on Earth look up and they think this is a significant moment when we're seeing the moon full on a solstice. So we can have a solstice event, which includes fire dancing and all kinds of other cool things that are considered for some evil or pagan. But, there are sacrifices and there are things that happen where people die or they're found dead, or we hear of violence or rioting or a number of things because, they say that the lunatics come out during the full moon. And of course, Luna is moon, meaning the crazy people, the people affected by the moon that go crazy and do all kinds of crazy things. Paramedics and police officers say that emergency rooms are actually full on those nights, more full than normal. I don't know if that's true. Could be an urban legend for all I know. But I've just heard that, emergency rooms fill up, more calls are for stranger crimes. But The Conjuring 2 is an interesting film inasmuch as people are claiming that when they see the film, they have something bizarre happen to them, or they have some eerie feeling they're taking out of the film. Now, a while back, if you remember, we were talking about the possibility of films being kind of like aversion therapy, where you go into a film and you're not expecting residual to drop all over you. You walk out, like if you go see a horror film, you have residual psychological whatever all over you. I don't know if you call them sprinkles or you call them glitter or you call them bad glitter or whatever. But, there are those who believe, and in fact, some people who are in the occult say that films do this, and they're meant to do this. They're meant to stir the primal attitudes. They're meant to get you to think. They're meant to get you to move and to think about things. And in some ways, when you're dealing with the supernatural, like in Conjuring, you walk out of there having things attached to you. And we had a whole show about this where people were saying, yeah, I remember going to this film and I felt like I had something attached to me. Most theaters are haunted. I mean, that's another thing to think about. But this woman sent me some pictures. And she said that she thought the film had somehow possessed her, that there were demons that were appearing in her home on the walls. And what's odd is that when I saw the pictures, I immediately decided to put them on Facebook. And the reason why is because usually I get pictures from people that say, I've got something in my house, I snapped a picture of it, and there's nothing there. And they swear to me, they see an angel or they see a demon or they see a shadow archetype or a shadow person there. And I never see it. And I wish they point arrows or something so I can figure it out. Well, this woman asked to be anonymous because she says, I've got a very important job and I don't want anybody to know what I do. And she sent me these blurry pictures of what appear to be red, misty manifestations of what I think look like an entity. And when I looked at the photos, I was shocked because, my mind filled up with this residual image of dark-eyed, bald entity with pointed ears. And I kind of see that in the picture. She didn't point out exactly what it was. She just said it was kind of a demonic-looking, and she mentioned this Valak. And I thought of Valakor, which, of course, I always thought was the name of the demon that in the lower key of Solomon, a Goetic demon named Valakor or Ualak. But no, it's the name of the demon is Valak, Valac. And she said that she believed that what she snapped a picture of was the demon Valak. And I said, okay, and where does that come from? I wondered. And she said, well, I sent her back an email and she said, well, it's the demon featured in the movie Conjuring 2. And I didn't know what to do except put them up and have people look at them. And some say, oh, it's filmed through a potato and it's blurry. And I say to people, and I did this demonstration before when I was at McMinnville. People need to understand that taking pictures of these entities are difficult sometimes. Taking pictures of UFOs when they're going by 7,000 miles an hour, 8,000 miles an hour, you can throw a ball of freaking lint in front of a camera or a ball of wadded up paper, and you couldn't capture a picture of it right then. People are lucky they get those pictures the way they do. So yeah, these are kind of blurred pictures of something that, in my mind, looks like a demon. There's the view that you look at it from, I guess it would be its right eye. No, it would be its left eye. I'm looking at its left eye, right? And then it turns around and you can see the other side of it, the horned or the ears, or I don't know. I know they're blurry, but I saw or I see the image of this demon that she says she sees. Now, Valak in the film looks nothing like this. Okay, and Valak appears as an evil nun that basically is there to connect two paranormal cases in the film. But what added to the validity of the blurred demon photos was, she said me, was that Valak looks nothing like the nun, but it's more diminutive and childlike, which I looked up. Valak looks like that. I mean, in the right mind, the pictures kind of show a baby-faced demon with dark eyes, pointed ears, and the profile of it is more blurry and less impressive. But she said that she remembered a show I did about horror movies, and they can be used as aversion programming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then she says, you should look at these stories. She gave these links to The Conjuring. Apparently some guy or some woman got possessed. And then in another theater, this guy got a heart attack happening or whatever. But as I was investigating like I normally do, and I don't take anything at face value, although people think I do. Well, I do sometimes and I don't other times, depending on what it is. I mean, I'm a reporter. I don't have to take everything at face value, and I can take things at face value if I want to. So I wanted to investigate this whole nonsense about Conjuring 2, creating heart attacks and possessions and all this stuff. And apparently, Joe, one of my listeners, said that he thought that the video that was going viral on news sites across the country, that's reporting this possession from in a theater, as fact. He said that the video was filmed in 2013. And I did some research, and apparently a lot of people say it was filmed in 2013, so it has nothing to do with the movie. And then this heart attack thing, I thought the guy had the heart attack in England, but as I was exploring it, no, he had it in India, where it'd be convenient to make up a report like that. Some guy had a heart attack in India seeing the movie Conjuring 2, but is it happening in the United States? No. But a woman sends me pictures of what appeared to be this little demon or alien or whatever it is. Red, kind of a pointy-eared, black-eyed image. A little blurry. And of course you have the critics saying, oh, it's taken with a potato and it looks stupid. It's just a street light. No, I don't think it's a street light. I mean, to have something that looks that, that my mind says, hey, that looks kind of particularly sylph-like and strange-looking. I have to say, I don't know what it is, but it's certainly intriguing to stare at. And when I put pictures up like that or videos of UFOs or whatever, I don't put them up because I think they're real. I put them up because I think they're interesting. I think they're fascinating. And if they're debunked, I immediately remove them. I say, okay, somebody debunked them to my satisfaction. I'm not going to have it up there because I don't want to be pushing nonsense. And so far, I just have a guy tell me that it was taken with a potato and that it's blurry and it's not too clear. But then again, when are ghosts ever clear on film? I've been on several ghost hunts, and ghosts look like this. They're kind of blurry, kind of, I don't know how to describe it, kind of transparent or translucent. And they're either like a blue or a green and I've never seen red before, but this is red, new one for me. And of course, who knows if this film's creating heart attacks and possessing people. And when I saw the film today, it scared me, and it gave me a lot to think about with regard to what's happening around us right now, with how disturbing the world is getting. Because when you're dealing with the demon Valak, This demon is often conjured, and it's still conjured today because this demon is the president demon of over 30 legions of other demons. So when you have in a film a depiction of this demon represented as an evil nun that looks like Marilyn Manson, and then you have pictures sent to you saying, no, this is how it really looks. Look at this. This is it. And, you know, you look at pictures of the demon in history. It's a child with wings on a two-headed dragon, little pointy ears, kind of like an elf, and he carries snakes with him. It's kind of an interesting thing. But this film has done something, and it's opened up the discussion about possession, poltergeist activity. If a house is a house where abuse took place, does it have residual? Can a film bring about residual fear because of the images and the jumps and the storyline and the struggle between good and evil? All this is all wrapped up in this film, Conjuring 2. I'll have more coming up on Ground Zero. I'm just trying to get my thoughts together on this, and they're all pretty much scrambled, but I want to make sure that you know that this is a pretty good film, and it also brings up a lot of interesting things to talk about. 888-673-3700. We'll be back. Clyde Lewis, Joe Cena, Ground Zero. When I walked away from the movie Conjuring 2, I walked away with this idea, and I wanted to share it with you tonight. And I know they say that it's based on a true story. It is. It's about the Enfield poltergeist case. And we'll talk about that, too, because that's a fascinating case. But there are a lot of things I want to kind of... I'm going to be all over the place tonight because after seeing that film, and I slept through it, it was boring. It wasn't boring to me because I knew what they were doing with the symbolism. Symbols rule you. You know this, right? Symbols rule the world. Not rules, not laws, but symbolism. Symbols communicate at a deeper level than words do because they are decoded by the right intuitive brain, whereas words are decoded by the left logical brain. So symbols are able to penetrate more deeply into our subconscious, which is why the elite are so obsessed using occult symbolism in films, in their corporate logos, everything from crosses to all-seeing eyes to pyramids to numerological power numbers, 333, 666, Saturnal rings, Chronos, inverted pentagrams. All of these things are powerful symbols of allegiance to a darker entanglement. A darker entanglement is the force that rules the world. So is chaos. Because chaos is so easily distributed and so hard to put back together. That is the plan. Destroy that which is orderly and make it up in a new image and a new likeness that you can somehow expand upon. And so we have an entanglement that is dark, satanic, chaotic, Luciferian, whichever constitutes whatever fits your bias. But the true controllers of the world, at least here on Earth, use this type of entanglement, this darker, viral entanglement to pull the strings, and we follow them. I mean, you can see that politicians, corporate bosses, military heads, intelligence chiefs, or even internal bankers, they all hold the power. And if you believe in a new world order, you look at the elite, you look at the 1% that are in the elite, those that are at the top of the pyramid, and they fulfill a hidden role. They have their hidden behind the scenes, hidden history role, and then you have your respectable public role, what the public sees, and then we have the entanglement. We have the darker entanglement, where we see the businessmen and the bankers and how their true power is utilized by spewing forth hatred and fighting and creating divisive types of agendas. We see this all the time, this darker type of entanglement. And this is what I think when we're looking at Valak, this symbol. It was kind of like the link in the conduit to every paranormal activity that would be considered evil. But the truth is it's the reptilian revealer. That's what Valak is. Basically, he is the king of the den of vipers. And the symbol of the den of vipers represents what all these black magicians do. The black magicians that rule the government. Governments and corporations that attempt to rule the world, the fascism. And when you look at the evidence, you see that it's everywhere. George Orwell touched on this in 1984 when he said that the ruling class used propaganda and agitprop, saying things like war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Even mind control that's been developed over time. You know, we did it, the Nazis did it, everybody does it, the CIA. It's all part of the doublethink. It's all part of the confusion, the obfuscation of victims by telling them that, you know, pain is pleasure, pleasure is pain, hate is love, hate is religion, religion is hate, extremism is good for religion, these types of things. It breaks down morale. And people have a hard time distinguishing between what is strength and what is slavery. What is war? What is peace? What is freedom? What is good? What is bad? What is evil? It's because they're constantly changing the program. And you have all these groups out there. You have the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations. You have all these other groups that are into pushing the benefits of globalization. And they basically want to centralize power, global governance, all of this, global religion, open conspiracy that H.G. Wells talked about. It's all there. It's not hidden anymore. It's in front of you. And the idea of having a darker entity ruling the planet from the dark entanglement, the dark power, ruling the world. As I said, there are big things being planned. Everybody wants in on the secrets. It's time to talk about them. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. I was relating last hour that Ron Patton and myself decided we'd go see The Conjuring 2. Film that's out right now about the Warrens and their investigation into both Amityville and the Enfield poltergeist case. What was really interesting, though, is that there was a woman who wanted to remain anonymous who sent me pictures. And I get pictures all the time from people saying, you know, do you see these chemtrails in the sky? Or they send me pictures of what is this UFO I'm looking at? Or sometimes they send me things and I just don't know what they're sending me. Like people send me their room and they say, take a look at here. Do you see this? I don't see anything. So finally got some pictures where something actually was there that I saw that I could actually make out. And what the woman told me is that after she saw The Conjuring 2, these images appeared on her wall. They're just appearing, like coming in and out, fading in and out. She took pictures of them. Now she said she wanted to remain anonymous. I said, okay, fine. And what I saw was exactly what I thought they were. And that is, it looks like a small, balding, little demon with big black eyes, kind of looked like an alien in a way, with pointed ears. And she pointed out to me in her letters, she said something to the effect that, you know, there are people who are having experiences after the film. And so I looked up these experiences, so-called experiences. A lot of them could be proven to be bunk. They're not real. There was one that was kind of weird about some guy who had a heart attack and then his body disappeared from the morgue after he saw this film. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of piled up experiences that people have with this film, because it's a pretty scary film. And what it deals with Amityville, of course. Well, only a short amount of time for the Amityville horror. The Warrens investigating this. Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren, they were paranormal investigators. And then they talk about this demon called Valak. And that's what this woman told me. This is the real... She feels it's the real image of Valak. And I looked up Valak, and Valak is represented in the film as a nun. It looks like Marilyn Manson. It's kind of creepy. But that isn't what Valak looks like. Valak, if you look at the pictures, is like a little boy with pointy ears and wings. And apparently he has something to do with appearing when the planets align or where some celestial event takes place. Well, as oddly as it may seem, a celestial event is taking place tonight as the Algonquin, or the strawberry moon, is going to be in the skies during the solstice, which is going to be a full moon during solstice. So many people believe there's going to be a lot of ritual going on, a lot of strangeness happening, and it may happen for days after. There's going to be some really impending bad mojo going on, right? Well, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it's just interesting to contemplate that this demon Volak, or Valak, it's Valak, B-A-L-A-C, Valak, is a general demon over 30 legions of demons that are unleashed during times of planet alignments or celestial events. So I got to thinking about this dark entanglement that has us pretty much in this hold. And people can call it satanic, Luciferian, they can call it whatever. But it's where deals with the devil are being made. And hate is spewing forth from the synagogues, the mosques, and the churches. And we've been hearing all about this. We've been seeing the political divisiveness going on. And we know that there is a dark entanglement that is being set. And that's what this film deals with, is a dark entanglement that basically terrorizes a family. The paranormal has entered every facet of our society. The dark entanglements that are there with government and the dark entanglements that go on in religion, and also Islam is involved in a very, very sinister and dark entanglement that they need to at least stand up. The peaceful ones need to stand up and eliminate it. Any fanaticism and extremism needs to be curbed within religious groups. And you're not a hateful person for saying that religious groups have lacked the ability to call out their own when they commit acts of murder and crime. But the demons, if you call them what you want to call them, demons or the dark entanglements or Luciferian entities or whatever you want to call them, they have entered the gates of the temples, the mosques, and the synagogues. They have names, and you need to call them by their names if you can find out their names. That's what was stressed in the movie Conjuring 2, is the only way to collapse a demon. Even if you think that holding your hand to the square and declaring in the name of Jesus to call the demon out, you need to name the demon in order for it to collapse. But a lot of the New Age Love and Light Brigade do not know how to identify demons. Some religious clerics run in fear from these demons that are ancient. Some have learned to embrace them because they empower their lust for greed and dominion over the weak-minded. Politics are not immune from this dark entanglement, this plague of demonic tampering. Playing on the political chessboard becomes an overwhelming exercise in hypocrisy, and they're wearing our nerves to the point of being threadbare. It weakens the morale of everyone that is subjected to this dark entanglement. And many people seem so gullible and so willing to follow leaders who act as if they are possessed by some dark and chaotic force. We have the jinn, we have ghosts, we have demons. Many people say, oh, these are all myths, but they're all metaphoric too for what is happening around us. What's going on in the world with the apostate priests and the New World Order and people spewing hatred from pulpits like Reverend Jimenez in Sacramento. This should be a frightening wake-up call for everyone who has listened to my shows beforehand. And what is more frightening is that it isn't stopping. And while surfing the web, I've noticed that the headlines are all pointing to some, I would say, midpoint or nadir. I don't know what you could call it. It's paving the way for this new order. Encouraging the acceptance of this new order, encouraging the acceptance of hatred and the entanglements, the darker entanglements, the satanic entanglements. That's how they'll get to you, you know. They'll get to you through various religions. They'll say, well, you know, get the religions to get behind us because we're going to make our move soon. As in this move, The Conjuring, I mean, I took a lot out of it. Most of it is like just me expanding a bit. But what it does is it shows the disturbing undercurrent about the demon Valak. It's often conjured by magicians to find hidden treasures. It's a general over 30 legions of demons that are out to do the dirty work of those who wish to create the dark entanglements I speak of. The demon is represented as an evil nun in the film, but it looks like a harmless, balding, pointy-eared, angelic creature that brings with it snakes and always appears during times of what are known as celestial events, planet alignments, perhaps even full moons during the solstice. I have no idea why that demon was present in the film. It had nothing to do with the film at all because it talked about the Enfield incident. In August of 1977, it was reported that Margaret Hodgson called police to a rented home in Enfield, England, after 2 of her 4 children claimed that furniture was moving and knocking sounds were heard on the walls. Margaret had claimed that the children were showing signs of possession, and they were moving chairs and a huge heavy chest across the floor with their mind. The children had reportedly levitated, and there were recordings made of conversations between the youngest children and authorities. The children had low and growling voices that were disturbing and sounded demonic. The investigators left a recorder in the room where the children played, and the sounds coming from them were creepy. The demonic voices spoke of trying to awaken Margaret, who was sleeping. The recordings, well, we're going to hear some of them tonight. They're very disturbing. And I was very surprised when I saw the film, because I know of the Enfield case, how close they came to the truth. At least the account that the children and the parents gave of what happened in that house in Enfield. But truth be known, I think it's important that we talk about this during the solstice and on a full moon, because this, apparently, according to some psychics and astrologers, is a sign that chaos and all hell is about to break loose. After all, it is the solstice, time of ritual and bloodletting and craziness. And tonight, Conjuring 2, the film, well, we'll give you a little education on what they're investigating in the movie, because we have the recordings of the young girls channeling this demon that was in the house. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Also, if you've had any experiences that are considered part of, well, being involved in dark entanglement, something that you didn't ask for, something beating on your door at night or hiding under your bed, 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The movie Conjuring 2, it's in theaters. It's frightening. I thought it was scary. Why? Because a lot of what they were talking about in the film has some validity to it. It's a lot about the Enfield poltergeist case, which I knew about and had discussion about a few weeks back. Not publicly, but with some friends of mine. And because somebody had said that Conjuring 2 would be handling Amityville and another case, which was a case in England. I thought maybe Enfield, and it was Enfield. I was very surprised they were bringing that case forward, because we talked about this many times on the program. Many people are familiar with the case of these children that were actually, this house was haunted in England, in Enfield, England, and there was this chair, I guess, in the house where this man named Bill died. And apparently they said the chair had a residual haunting to it, but the family was being terrorized. They kept the chair there for some stupid reason, because they were poor, I guess. Kept the chair there, and one of the children, or a few of the children, were being possessed by this entity who called himself Bill. And they made these claims. The claims went crazy and viral all over England. And finally, they wanted some proof. They wanted to get on camera the girls levitating and speaking and everything. And so they'd put cameras on these on the girls. And one girl in particular, I think her name was Janet, wanted to say some things, and she finally identified herself as Bill. And this voice of this old man talking through her is just remarkable. And here's an example of when they sat down with the girls to talk with Bill, who is this man who died. And it's funny because in the film, they just went completely with what happened, that this old man died from a hemorrhage while sitting in a chair. Listen to this.
Let me hear you say my name. Come on, let me hear you say my name. That's not my name. Come on, my name's Morris. Let me hear you say it. Morris. Hey, Dr. Belloc. Come on, let me hear you say that. Say Dr. Belloc. Come, you squeak the bed. I can't hear you talking. Now, say Dr. Belloc. Come on, say it for me, Dr. Belloc. Dr. Belloc.
That's a voice coming out of an 11-year-old girl. Here's another clip of those investigators speaking with the girl and finding out who's behind the voice inside this girl. And here's a copy of that.
Well, that's good. I'm 72 years old. I come from Conjure, great job. And I have right in the church where Rena lives. And all my friends come from there as well. And we all make a cake and go to the pub. And then we pick your house. Because I used to live here. And I will do this a lot. And if you don't get anyone else, just let me talk and Mr. Blackman.
He's actually saying that he used to live in this house. This is his house, and that no one can tell him to leave. Here's a final statement from Bill as he's talking with the investigators again.
Why can't Janet tell you?
I'm invisible.
You're invisible? Why are you invisible?
So much H-O-S-T.
What you got 68 dogs for?
So that they can protect me from you killing me. They can bite you right off.
How can we kill you, Bill?
You can shoot me off.
Now, how can we shoot you if we can't see you, Bill?
By praying to God.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Bill.
By praying to God.
By praying to God. So, what you're saying is we couldn't get rid of you by praying to God.
He said that you're wanting to kill me. Bill is saying to the investigators, you want to kill me. And he said, because I am a Ghost. And he says, well, how can we kill you? He says, you can shoot me. And he says, but you're invisible. How can we shoot you? He says, by praying to God. He says, what? He says, by praying to God, he says sternly. So the way to eliminate them is if they were to pray him out of the house. And so now mind you, this is an 11-year-old girl challenging the voice, actually channeling the voice of this man who died in the house of a hemorrhage. He died sitting in a chair of a hemorrhage. And it's amazing the way the film itself depicts these sessions, because I wasn't expecting it. I mean, it takes a lot of liberties, believe it or not. Hollywood does. They take a lot of liberties on this, and they make it more over the top than it really was. But this man was haunting this house in Enfield. And the children were the ones who were being abused by this man, being used and abused by this man who was an entity. He'd throw them around, he'd throw their clothes, and he'd throw their boxes and things around. And the film is pretty close, except that they talk about this demon called Valak, who has no business being in this film, just shows up as a possessed nun. Valak isn't a possessed nun. Valak is this demon that is a small childlike demon with pointy ears and wings, and actually appears during times of celestial events. And then he tries to weed out or demonstrate or show where all the snakes are. He's the king of the vipers, and he is the president, chief demon over 30 legions of demons that are released during the times of some huge astrological event. Well, today, of course, is the day of the full moon, strawberry moon, that appears during the solstice. And some people believe that rituals are being held right as we speak, rituals that are going to create the dark archetypes and create chaos. We'll see a lot of bloodshed, a lot of fighting, a lot of rioting going on after these rituals are performed, because apparently the elite love to create chaotic rituals that will bring us into chaos. They can go in and bring order out of chaos. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More Ground Zero. Don't go away. We'll be back. Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. To some astrologers, a full moon on the solstice means that rituals are well underway. Rituals that put us into the dark entanglements that most people have been seeing on the nightly news. Of course, a lot of heavy hatred and fighting and shooting and lying to cover things up. It's not going to end, not anytime soon. Just saw the film Conjuring 2. Of course, a film dealing with the Enfield poltergeist case. However, they do somehow bring together a demon called Valak into the mix, although Valak has nothing to do with the entities in Enfield. It's just a conduit demon that haunts Ed and Lorraine, the investigators, and so that's pretty much an added bonus to the whole situation. And the case in Enfield, we've heard from it a while ago when I talked about poltergeist, but there's nothing more chilling than hearing the demon Ed, or was Bill, sorry, his name was Bill, talking through this little girl. And here's another recording of Bill talking to this little girl.
Hello. Hello. Meow. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Wow. Wow, sleep. He's about to go to sleep and he's talking. So, hello. Janet, Margaret and Betty are all asleep and he's talking. I will. Hello, Mr. Blackbear. Margaret's asleep and I'm talking. Hello. Betty. Where's her mouth sleep? All right, late. Margaret, Johnny, I'll bet I'll stay from the talking. Just Margaret. Hang on the Johnny, have Margaret and Billy. Hello, Ray. Bang on the floor, and they've all come up. Yeah. That'll keep them all hello. That's the veil. Veil, what late? Made up. There's two new colors. Bang on the floor now, sir. Then climb up here. Yeah. Roll through. Then on your leg. That's what you're talking. Mr. Krabs. Look at the ground. Lights gone off. Lights gone off. Mr. Krabs. Lights gone off. Lights gone off. Come on. If you don't come up and smash the window. Yeah. Bang on the wall again. Go on. Alright, go on. Guess what? Can't mug it there asleep when we are talking. Come with the crowd. I go back again. To the ground. Mr. Krabs! Mr. Krabs!
What you just heard is the sound of a demon or a ghost voice from a man named Bill who was haunting a house in Enfield. It's the subject of the new movie Conjuring 2. That's the actual recording sessions that they did back in 1977, August of 1977, when the house was haunted by a man named Bill. A lot of sessions and a lot of strangeness. There were skeptics saying that this was all being faked, but then afterwards they returned to the house and they realized that there was more than meets the eye. In fact, there was a chair that was haunted. The man who named Bill actually died there of a hemorrhage, and proceeded to tell those who lived there that it was his house, that he was trying to find his family. But he also told investigators that he felt that he was going to be destroyed if they prayed for him. It was just an amazing story, but there were a lot of other things thrown in, like Valak, who's this demon that shows up. No one knows why he was there. He was just there for, I think, for added horror. But otherwise, it was pretty true to form. Just showing there are a lot of dark entanglements that we approach and we sometimes find ourselves stuck in the middle with, and a lot of interesting stories that connect to shadow archetypes and those dark entanglements. We go to Josh calling in from Oklahoma tonight. Hi, Josh. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, how are you?
Doing fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right.
Good.
I was just going to share a quick story with you. I'm a police officer in my hometown, and we got a call of a rolling domestic, and what that is just a couple fighting in a vehicle. And when we found the vehicle, it was in an apartment complex parking lot, and there was a male had fallen outside of the vehicle, and when we got there, he was hitting his head up against the pavement. And we got up close to him, and he's screaming at us and speaking in, well, what sounded a lot like what you just played. And it took 6 of us to subdue him to keep him from hurting himself.
Was he on drugs? Was he drugged?
No, not at all. He was tested, and he came back clean. And
really? And so he was pounding his head on the pavement?
Yes.
Did it cause any injury?
It just lacerations. He didn't test for concussion or anything like that I know of.
But he was pounding very hard on the pavement with his head, correct?
Very hard.
And still, he had no concussion, just a laceration.
Yes.
Did the girlfriend or the woman there make any comment as to what was going on with him?
It was his mom that was with him, and she said that he was a very, very religious person. And he had went off to college, and she just got back from picking him up. And he was acting completely different, and then it just escalated very, very quickly until we showed up.
Wow. And so what charges, if any, were filed against him if he wasn't drunk or drugged?
He was assaulting a police officer, and that's really it.
What is your opinion of what he was doing? What do you think was happening to him?
I really don't know. I had a recording of it for a long time, and asked a few people what they thought of it. And one guy said he thought he was speaking Aramaic, I think is what they called it.
Yeah, Aramaic, very ancient language. So did you? I mean, being a police officer, you have to be critical and you have to use discernment. Did you kind of think that he was possessed or something, or did you kind of like that never entered your mind?
Until then, it would not have entered my mind, but after that, very much so.
And so he was speaking a different language. He never said anything coherent in English that would be significant for us to know about?
No, nothing at all.
Did it change your mind about demons and demonic possession, or did you have an opinion beforehand?
My opinion was very open-minded, but now I really believe he was possessed.
Wow. Well, Josh, I'm sure you've seen a lot being a police officer, and thank you for your service. I really appreciate you doing this. I mean, it takes a really strong soul to be a police officer these days, and I thank you for calling in this program tonight.
Well, thank you, sir.
You have a good day. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. You know, that's what is really disturbing, too. It's when a police officer says that he comes into contact with someone who is out of control, pounding his head on the pavement really hard, not getting a concussion, but pounding it enough to get a laceration. The man tests negative for any drugs or alcohol in his system, but he has the strength and the capacity to do harm and damage to himself and to the officers. I mean, it's these types of suspects or perpetrators or whatever they are that end up getting shot. And we've heard stories before about officers who have shot people, saying that when they saw them, they looked as if they were possessed, or if they didn't look human, or something clicked where you see once again the dark entanglement. Something bizarre, something wicked, something unbelievable becomes believable. And you don't believe what you're seeing, but you're seeing it. Many people have had these types of encounters. Many people have these types of experiences. And now, with the full moon and the solstice, now it's all kind of clicking together. First time in 70 years. Some people say we'll be seeing more of this and hearing more of this in the news. Be like living the real film Conjuring 2. People are already having strange experiences. What are yours? Give us a call. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. A lot of weirdness in the air tonight. A lot of strange stories. We want to hear from you tonight on Ground Zero. We'll be back. So take a look at the Facebook page right now. The Ohio Valley Ghost Hunters submitted a picture of an entity. Top of the staircase. It's pretty amazing. They claim that it's real, a real entity at the top of the stairs. And of course, people say it's fake because they don't want to believe that stuff gets taken, pictures get taken, or anything. They're armchair analysts that don't know anything. I always, it's fake. It's this. And you're like going, what criteria do you base it on? Your gut feeling? You think someone's trying to pull a fast one on you? You think they're going to make tons of money showing you these pictures? No, you don't make any money. You show them and going, what is it? It's like this demon picture that I received from this anonymous woman. I didn't know what it was. I thought it looked like a demon. It looked, I've never seen a demon, really. I've seen ghosts. Maybe the seaside demon that Roger Cluton took, maybe that was a demon. I don't know. It would just be what I would say a demon looks like. I don't know. But of course, this film has you seeing demons everywhere, and this solstice thing with a full moon, people say it's pretty much big time occult symbolism. Let's go to Tony in Indiana. You're on Ground Zero.
Yeah, Clyde, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great.
Good. You look. All you've got to do is look around, and you see the symbolism everywhere. All these corporations use it. You see the big meeting halls where they meet, and they use the hieroglyphics and the inverted pyramids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I believe 100% that demons are real, because I've been through a situation where I heard voices exactly like the one you played tonight, and they asked the name, and the only name I can remember of one of the demons, it was a young kid that they did a deliverance of. He had 4 or 5 voices coming out of him, and it was like a Hollywood movie, because when they cast it out, it went out. You could hear the voices screaming as they left and went out through the ceiling of the room. So
right.
There's no doubt in my mind that these people, that demons are real. And, just based on and they actually asked his name, and the only name I can remember is Bane.
What was the name?
So, Bane.
Bane,
yeah.
B-A-N-E, Bane.
Yes, I think it's the demon of death and destruction, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But yeah, I actually have seen this. I know they're real. And when you look at the things they do and the ceremonies that the elite use, there's no doubt that, whether we think they believe it or whether it doesn't matter what people out here think, they believe it. So yeah, I'm sure that they are trying to do whatever they can to change you could just feel in the atmosphere, around you that something's not right. And I think that if they were calling on demons, that would be probably something that would make, the zeitgeist not feel normal.
Well, and I would say that you're correct. I would say that we're finding more and more that, the most powerful things out there are symbols and dark entanglements. And they're very powerful, and they're getting to the point where they're so powerful that people are unarmed, and they say, well, all I got is Jesus to arm me. No, you need more than that now. I mean, that's a big help. But I would say that, things are getting so complicated and intricate, it goes beyond just Satan and his group. There are plenty of other demons out there that are being summoned. There are plenty of jinn out there that the Middle Eastern people have been summoning and creating that are here now. In fact, I remember back when Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was in power, two of his assistants were conjuring jinn, and they were sending them over here to the United States to cause trouble. People say, that's not real. Well, how else do you explain how things are just becoming more and more outrageously paranormal in the world? It's part of everyday life now. And I never thought I'd see the day where I would hear a pastor get up at a Baptist get-together and declare that we need to murder all homosexuals and have everybody go, oh, he's a brilliant man. He's just brilliant, man. He's right. We need to kill the abomination of those subordinate, or what do you call those people? Sodomites. Yay. That's, and it's gross and it's ugly. And it was, he did the same thing that Imam did that was there, saying that we needed to kill homosexuals because it would be an act of compassion. So, if that's the way we feel, gosh, that's nice. People, let's just kill them because we don't agree with their sexuality. That's always a nice thing to do.
That's really scary that a follower of Christ would preach anything but the love that he had for us.
Oh, I would agree. I would agree that preaching the love of Christ is the most important thing you can do, but then abusing it from the pulpit and then having people tell me, this was the funniest thing of all, this guy's preaching hate from the pulpit and people are telling me, well, you know what? Those damn Muslims, man, they do everything and they want to kill in the name of God, and that's what's bad about them. I'm thinking, what about these that say that we should kill on behalf of Jesus? It's sick.
I guess as long as we're just a little bit better than they are, it's all good, right?
I agree. Yes. No, I don't. Thanks, Tony. Thank you for calling.
God bless.
God bless you. Oh man, we need to start loving each other. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Tonight, conjuring dark entanglements. A demon called Valak, appearing in the movie Conjuring 2, but mostly talking about the Enfield poltergeist story. Now, many people tonight are contemplating what might happen as a full moon is appearing in the skies during the summer solstice. Or a lot of people believe that when this happens, we see a lot of rituals. What is interesting about this demon Valak that appears in Conjuring 2, it has really nothing to do with the entire story of Enfield or the Amityville Horror or all the other typical stories that are talked about in this film. Rather, this demon appears as a nun, but in reality it's a small demon with wings, is the captain or president over 30 legions of demons. And he is also a demon that appears during celestial events, aligning of planets, perhaps even the full moon over a solstice. It is being proposed that this full moon appearing in the solstice, as it happens once every 70 years, that we are about to experience more painful initiatory rituals at the hands of the power elite as the world readies for this passing that we're going through, this new paradigm. The forces of chaos will see to it that the future will be fraught with pain and suffering. Gone are the days of sanitized ideologies. The world has adjusted the levels of evil to make way for the painful advent of pathocracy. And there are too many coincidences to indicate that sinister influences may be at work. But in order to reveal these sinister occult influences, we must go beneath the political skin and realize that there is something far more valuable to the elite. It's your soul, it's your blood, more so your blood. It's more valuable than oil in some respects. In a world of cannibals and vampires, it's fresh meat that attracts the beasts. They are monsters because they don't care anymore. They just want everything and take everything. They kill indiscriminately. They leave behind witchy or dark signatures, symbols, sigils that when revealed basically demonstrate that not only are there puppet masters, but others that pull the strings of the puppet masters. The little girl in the film Conjuring 2, the film that's based on the Enfield hauntings, the poltergeist said that the voice didn't come from within her, but came from behind her. And she felt as if that she was being used like a puppet, where the poltergeist had its entire body inside hers, channeling the most sinister voices. And here's a listen to the original tapes.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Office is sleeping on Tokyo. Office is sleeping on Tokyo. Office is sleeping on Tokyo. Wow. Oh, shit. He's about to go to sleep and he's talking. So, hello. Johnny, Mark, and Betty are all asleep and he's talking. I wouldn't. Hello, Mr. Blackbear. Mom is sleeping, I'm talking. Hello.
There you have it, an entity named Bill possessing a little girl in the Enfield poltergeist story. It's featured in Conjure 2, a very frightening film. It's in theaters now. Went and saw it this morning with Ron Patton, and was very intrigued by the revelation of the demon Valak, which of course is seldom spoken of in films. Especially, I found it interesting that it appears in the film at the time of the solstice, and tonight is the time of the solstice. It is the longest day of the year, and the sun, actually the moon will be full tonight, the strawberry moon or the Algonquin moon, which many astrologers believe this is symbolic of a very important event. Many events will take place where a lot of darkness will be unleashed. The darker entanglements will take place. And so tonight we're opening up the phones for people who have had these experiences. I had some pictures sent to me by a listener who wanted to remain anonymous of what appeared to be a demon, a red-faced demon in a picture, very small head with what looks like pointed ears and big wide eyes, like possibly alien or whatever. It looks really bizarre. And I'm still trying to figure out what it is. Many people say, well, it's too blurry to tell. Well, maybe, but it's hard sometimes to get these pictures when you're inexperienced. Those who are experienced ghost hunters take great pictures. In fact, the Ohio Valley ghost hunters have a picture on our site that we just posted. If you want to take a look at that one, pretty sinister and strange as well. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Go to Michelle in Texas. Hi, Michelle. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. I really appreciate your program. I've been listening for about a year, and there are times that you have brought stuff up, like when you were warning parents about sad Satan, and I heard the noises coming out of whatever that was, and you started laughing, and I heard a demon in you, and I'm just the total opposite of you. I don't like scary movies. If they come on, I don't even have a TV. So but when I was much younger.
Well, hold on a minute, Michelle. Before you get into your story, you believe that there's a demon in me?
No, I felt something attached to you, and I turned it off because I have experienced demon possession myself, and it scared me. So I turned the radio down, and I prayed for you. And then when you came back on, when I turned it on, you said that when you get scared, you start laughing. And when I was younger, I had a boyfriend, and he played a lot of, I didn't know it was, but he played a lot of satanic rock and roll music, and I was at his house all the time. And something started happening
when you
to
say,
me.
When you say satanic rock and roll music, what is satanic rock and roll music to you?
I mean, maybe because I'm a sensitive soul, it affects me more than it does other people, but like Black Sabbath, I'm not saying Led Zeppelin was a satanic rock and roll music, but there are some lyrics in it that I don't know, they just affected me, but I did become demon possessed. And what it did to me is it made me so depressed, I would lay in a dark room, and not get up and eat for days. And I could feel a presence there. And I finally started talking to it, and I said, I don't know what you are. I don't know what you want. I was so depressed, I said, just go ahead and take me. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I knew nothing about Satan and demons. And all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. And I did not want to die. I wanted to know what was wrong with me, but I was compelled in a very violent way to try to kill myself. And I don't know how I lived through it. By the grace of God, I didn't die. And when you talked about the moon and all of that, the solstice, the last 2 nights, I have not been able to sleep at all. I keep looking out the window, looking for the moon, and I didn't know why. And now I know why. And when things like this happen, it's satanic activity getting really intense. I have to stay up and pray myself through it, or I will be attacked in my sleep with very bad nightmares. And I don't get involved in any kind of stuff like that. I just know it's very real.
Yes.
And it's going to keep getting worse as the end times get closer and closer.
So, Michelle, what do you think is going to happen with the appearance of the full moon in the sky during the solstice? This is the first time in 70 years.
I knew nothing of that. I just couldn't figure out why I kept staring out my blinds wanting to look at the moon, and I couldn't go to sleep. So,
right. So it had you pretty much transfixed.
I'm agitated.
Right. It had you transfixed, and it had you stuck, and that's why you were staring, because there's some power that's luring you to that, correct? Is that what you feel?
Well, right, but I have to pray over myself, or I can get attacked in my sleep still,
Sure.
even though I surrendered my life to Christ. I know my soul is okay, but I still get attacked. And
Michelle,
I just want you to put protection around yourself when you're dealing in these things.
I certainly do, and I try very, very hard to keep myself safe, because I need to be safe now. I'm not as strong as I used to be.
Yeah, you've got a family now.
Yes, I have a family, and I'm being very careful. So, Michelle, I thank you for that. I thank you for thinking of my family tonight. And yes, tonight, maybe we should all think about saying a prayer. Hopefully that things will work out, that we'll be able to survive and endure what is coming. We all know that big things are in the works. We know that something or many things are about to explode in this country, all around the world. It's getting closer. We can feel it. We'll be back. Let's go to Chad calling in from Pennsylvania tonight. Hi, Chad. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Thanks for having me on.
You bet.
Yes, I just wanted to tell a story of it's kind of hard for me to talk about. When I was in high school, I went to high school with this young man. He's a very good friend of mine. He also attended my church. And before I say anything, let me tell you that this stuff is very, very real.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of shaken up. So the 16-year-old boy, he attended my church, and he made and this is reliable information, Claude, because it came from the source itself.
Mm-hmm.
He made a pact with Satan, and a few days later, he'd become very repulsive towards, religious items such as crosses and holy water, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Within 2 weeks, his parents thought the best option was to send him to a mental asylum, and there he started talking in multiple different languages. He went from listening to peaceful music, peaceful country music, to very dark heavy metal like Limp Bizkit and stuff. And it took many exorcisms for him to release the demon that took over his body. I'll just never forget the time that our priest, he walked in, he went and visited him, and he had some serious stuff to say, and he had a very stern facial expression when he said it.
Mm-hmm. We had a gentleman who lived just 2 doors up from me in Utah, whose he had twin sons, and they both became possessed for some reason. I don't know how. I think they were drug addicts, so they used a lot of bad drugs, and apparently it made them, I guess, possessed, or I don't know what it was. But apparently they called in a number of the clergy from all the religions. There were Protestant religions there. There were Catholics, Mormon. I mean, every Baptist were all there together to try and exorcise these 2 young boys. And they spent I think a week trying to do so. And then we never heard about it anymore. There was a rumor that, his name was Lewis Smith. He's dead now, but his sons were being, exorcised. And we were going, well, gosh, it's creepy. Just 2 doors up, and, they're doing an exorcism. And then we never heard anything again about the exorcism. And one day we see the coroner's vehicle pull up, and they're taking out a couple of stretchers and some bags, and both those boys were dead. They were found dead after the exorcism. Wow. And it just gave us the creeps that, whatever was going on with those 2 boys, 16-year-old boys who were twins, they tried so hard to get them, to get out of their dark entanglement, I guess you can call it. They were possessed that the 2 boys died, and it was just a tragedy. No one wanted to talk about it. It was a big secret in the neighborhood that Mr. Smith's boys both died from, complications from an exorcism, I guess. I don't know exactly how you put that, but they most certainly were frail and most certainly under the influence of some demonic entity.
Well, that's kind of how this is, Claude. The whole town didn't want to talk about it. And a little history of my town, you can even look this up. It's a small town in Pennsylvania called Mount Pleasant, and it has a pretty dark history to the point where before it was called Mount Pleasant, it was actually called Helltown. The zip code is, to this day, it's 15666. And, I mean, it's just the creepy stuff,
Well, of course, there's residual, it's all in the name. There's residual haunting in that regard. As we said before, names and symbols mean more than laws in some respects. I mean, you have a symbol. In fact, when I went with Liam for Father's Day to this museum, and we were talking about space and everything. It was because, of course, today's the anniversary of the moonshot. And we went to a space exhibit, and he was talking to me about the Nazis, because he was talking about, Werner von Braun And he said, yeah, he says the swastika was a very powerful symbol. And, here's a 10-year-old telling me, he says, it used to be a symbol of peace. He says, but then when the Nazis took it and they bent it on a flag, it made it look evil and made it mesmerizing. He says, and to this day, I don't know what it is. He says, it's like watching mind control. He says, you're looking at the flag and he says, it's just mesmerizing. And I shook my head and I thought, this is a 10-year-old boy telling me this. That he sees symbolism and it makes his mind do things. So if a thing like a swastika on a red and white flag can get your mind going, imagine what other symbols do without you even being cognizant of it. Imagine what songs do that you're not cognizant of, or movies like, for example, the Conjuring 2 that we just went and saw. It was very, very, it was laced with a lot of occult symbolism, symbology. The nun, the Valak demon that was in the film. I'll be having nightmares about that for a long time. Very frightening looking demon. And of course, we have the Enfield poltergeist story where we're hearing the voices of this old man, Bill, through this little girl. And it's like, these types of things, possessions, hauntings, darker entanglements, they're all real. And the more we push it, and when they happen during times of a solstice, I think we need to be aware of these things and why things happen the way they do.
Right, I couldn't agree with you more, Clyde.
Chad, you're the man. Thank you for your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
You bet. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. There you have it. These stories are real. They're very real to the people, and people who've experienced either being possessed or watching a possession or a haunting or are knowing that something is about to happen. We feel it because we're intuitive creatures. We're transmitters. And as I say, the end of the world does not happen on a physical level first. It happens on a spiritual level. And if we find our spirits are troubled and we're intuitively feeling it, this is some sort of psychokinetic bonding we're having. And a lot of what we experience is psychokinesis. It's psychokinesis, it's tulpas, it's memes, it's symbolism, and it all points to chaos. It's exactly what the powers that be want. So they can bring it all together under the umbrella of order. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to Ground Zero. As they say many times over, timing is everything. A new movie, The Conjuring 2, in theaters, featuring a demon named Valak. This demon is represented by a nun, very frightening looking, kind of looks like Marilyn Manson, but still, it's a frightening looking nun. Not like the real demon Valak, which of course is a president or a leader, chief demon over 30 legions that are unleashed during times of planetary or celestial events. And tonight we have one, and that is, of course, strawberry moon in the sky during the solstice. It is the moon that is full. It happens once every 70 years, and a lot of people say that this may cause catastrophe in the future, not too distant future, or maybe some other problems rising up where people become agitated by this moon, and the earth, of course, responds in kind, and the people on that earth do respond as well. And tonight, a lot of people calling in with their stories of dark archetypes or perhaps even encounters with demonic entities, dark entanglements, thoughts of the future and what will be happening. These are things I think are very important to discuss, especially on a night like tonight where the full moon is in the sky during the solstice, a time of ritual and a time of strangeness. Let's go to Carlos in California. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, good evening, Clyde. Well, listen, Prince William was born on the summer solstice. Now, is he the ultimate demon? There's schools of thought that claim that he may be really the future Antichrist, and of course that would make him probably the ultimate demon. So, I mean, I'm just wondering.
Well, it's funny you should bring it up. Yes, Prince William was born during a solstice. It was a forced birth. There are many stories about how this was done because of the fact that they wanted to be at a time like this. If you notice that you look at Prince Charles and Princess Diana, they were actually married during an eclipse of the sun, and Camilla Parker Bowles and Prince Charles were going to get married during an eclipse of the sun, but Pope John Paul II passed away, so they had his funeral. They couldn't do it at that time. The royals, they do things based on phases of the moon and phases of the sun. So, whatever is happening tonight, somewhere out there are rituals that are being had. Somewhere out there are people who are contemplating, creating these darker entanglements, the chaos. There are stories about the royals being a part of these rituals, that they conduct these rituals because of the secret occult practices that the royals do. So yes, I mean, and I have been quoted in Rolling Stone magazine as saying that I believe that Prince William has every chance at becoming the Antichrist, not from a standpoint of, people always say, well, the Antichrist is somebody you hate. Not necessarily. It's somebody that represents the peace treaty, the I guess you could call it the foe or the face of peace, when in reality wars are being plotted and things are being done under the noses of the people without them knowing. There are a lot of sinister activities that are going on with the royals. A lot of sinister activities going on right now with the EU and the Brexit. This is some monumentous decisions to be made in Europe right now. The idea that we're clashing with Russia over Syria, those are very important. Anything can happen. An earthquake could happen tomorrow. A huge earthquake on the San Andreas Fault, perhaps. Or maybe an earthquake here where they're saying the big one's going to hit the Northwest. All these things could happen within, I always give it a window of about 5 to 10 days after a major event like this for something to go down. It all echoes and trickles down like waves. Like when you throw a pebble into the water, it creates those waves. I think the same thing happens with these influential moments, these celestial moments that are ritualized. And of course, like I say, the demon Valak is featured in the movie The Conjuring 2 that's in theaters right now, and people complaining of events or things that are happening after they see the film. I got some pictures sent to me of what appears to be a demon of some kind. I don't know, maybe it's not, maybe just some splotch, and somebody say it's a demon, but it looks certainly sinister to me. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you're I think you're onto something, Carlos.
Well, Clyde, could it also be that maybe there's some events that occur prior, just contiguous, prior to to a big date like this one?
Well, sure.
At the murders that looking at the background of the murders here that occurred at the homosexual club.
Yeah.
In the history of the young man's marriage to his two wives, the June the 21st pops up as a key date in some relationship that they had, either marriage or divorce or something.
Yeah, well, when you look at the situation in Orlando and what it spawned, it has spawned yet again hatred on both ends. We have, of course, the frequency of Islamic terror, the frequency of Muslim extremism. And then you have an example of Christian extremism with Pastor Jimenez at the Baptist Church there in Sacramento saying that they deserve to die, and he wishes that more would have been killed because they're an abomination to God. The Sodomites are, reprobate, he says, and they need to die. Same as that imam that spoke in Orlando like months before the shooting. He said that we should kill homosexuals out of compassion. These types of things spoken from holy men actually create more chaos than I believe it's worth. And then, of course, the assassination plot against Donald Trump. That was something else I think kind of went by the wayside as well, where people are plotting to somehow eliminate him from running for office. Not in a good way, not in a bad way, but certainly an assassination is a bad thing, or a plot to assassinate, but also a plot to undermine and betray those who have invested their votes into a candidate. It looks as if that our elections are going to be stepped on and ruined and destroyed. The GOP will be fragmented and destroyed. The Democratic Party will be fragmented and destroyed because Hillary Clinton's a crook. We have this type of stuff going on in our politics, which means that politics are in disarray and chaotic. So, somewhere it's got to give. Somewhere a bridge will break because of the last straw. And it's destined. It's inevitable because this is how we are. They're already planning on riots and total destruction at the conventions. And other people are saying there would be a great idea to bring this country into martial law so that Trump can't run, that Barack Obama can continue to be president, and we can rearrange the voting situation. People, I mean, I had another friend write me today, or a Ground Zero listener say that he discussed this with somebody about maybe having martial law declared so we can keep Trump out of office, and he was all for it. So people don't know what they're asking for. They don't know what they're asking for. You know, martial law, of course not, but they're asking for it because they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know anything about that.
Well, you know, we're surrounded by chaos, and things are leading up to, like Alice Bailey, the Theosophist, described in one of her writings, that the ascended masters would arrive in the year 2025. So things are certainly leading up to something very eventful. Whether it be the extraterrestrial landing or the emergence of the ascended masters, it's becoming so chaotic. Of course, and we see the number 11 associated with these chaos. For instance, in the murders that just occurred, the number 29 as a date appears quite a few times on this gentleman's history.
And 9 and 2 is 11.
Something happening on the 29th of June, you know, something that, of course, gives you an 11. So there's always the number 11 surrounding. Look at our 9/11.
Well,
all the 11s that surround that particular date episode.
We have never escaped, really, and this could be a first, we have never escaped a solstice without some sort of bizarre or intricate, dark entanglement that has to be reported. And so people are waiting patiently for tomorrow, or maybe 2 or 3 days from now, where they'll be seeing in the headlines something so peculiar and so outrageous that they'll realize that something dark is in control, and that's the thing that I dread. I hope it doesn't happen, but there just seems to be elements out there that are going to make this happen, and it's very unfortunate. So people need to be prepared and understand that yes, there are influences out there that we cannot control, and there are people that think they are controlling them, but who knows? They may blow back and destroy them. But in the meantime, we have to understand that there is a war. It's a psychological war. It's a war of ideologies, and we may all become collateral damage in that war unless we are well aware, using critical thinking skills and understanding hate when we hear it, understanding extremism when we see it. And we pointed out in every religion, every major religion is committing acts of extremism and spewing extremist thoughts. We need to call them out because these are the things that in the end will destroy us. They will. And there's no doubt, because chaos always creates these problems. And then when they happen, the Hegelian dialectic steps in and the government provides a solution. And every time that solution is provided, we end up losing our rights, our freedom, and our well-being, our safety as well. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More to come on Ground Zero as we talk about the dark entanglements, Conjuring 2, possession, demons, tulpas, all there tonight on Ground Zero. We'll be back. You're listening to Ground Zero. The number's call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to Gary in Texas. Hi, Gary. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hi, Clyde.
Hey, man.
Yeah, you are a godsend. Believe me. I wasn't aware of the solstice thing, but really good reference point that I think you would be very interested in is a new book out by James Rowlands.
Okay.
On some numerological values of the moon and in relation to human DNA. That's point number one. And Neil Armstrong going into South America on an expedition.
Okay.
The whole thing about entanglement, I fully agree with you. With the rituals and all of that, I was exposed to a situation of with a friend of mine, and it's a family member. I can't give their name, and it was possession. After that, I was like, okay, this is real. But when you mention entanglement, dark entanglement, another phrase comes up called dark ecstasy. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
What is that?
It was mentioned in another program, and it was what dark elements of the New World Order really thrive upon.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought that into relation to the media out of movies where you have mayhem, shoot 'em up, carnage. And it's something that those elements thrive upon. And I've noticed that more and more that American citizens have become not citizens but consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I talk to people, it seems like they're very disconnected from anything other than the media and the social media.
Mm-hmm.
And when you mention entanglement, what's really odd when you use the term web, okay, you get entangled in a web. And the internet and the word net. And I know it's a coincidence, okay, but it really makes you wonder how we use words.
Mm-hmm.
And whether there's some way that we really should be aware of what the web can do for good or for ill, and what the internet can do for good or ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed more people, and you, of course, would know this too, are really focused on that primarily. There's a very good source. I don't know if you're familiar with the Malachi Martin.
Mm-hmm.
He put out a book called Windswept House. I read it about 3 times.
That's a very frightening book. Go ahead.
Right, but they mentioned the enthronement ceremony in the Vatican.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a target, it was from Virginia to the Vatican back and forth. And when you mention, more or less spiritual elements, whether Islamic or whatever, and I don't believe it's Islamic, when they talk about the jinn, people should take that very seriously, but not target Muslims, but spiritual elements that are there are pretty well, documented. It's like this stuff is real, but our focus, when we get into the media and television and mainstream media, there's nothing there to protect you or inform you. That's why I say you're a godsend.
Well, thank
you. There's a lot out there, but as long as you're distracted, you're not really protected and you're not really informed.
Well, it's like a magician's trick. They have in one hand what they want you to look at, and in the other hand, they have a sleight of hand. And I know that's kind of that's turned into a cliche axiom or euphemism. But the truth be known is that's exactly what they're doing. While the shooting took place, and while we're all caught up in the shooting, I don't know if you know this or not, but they basically shaved a little hair off the Fourth Amendment. They've now allowed police officers now they have a lot more they have a lot more leeway now on how they can search you, and so the Supreme Court basically gave a nice little shave on the Fourth Amendment. And see, that's the thing. First the Fourth Amendment, then as I said, the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. And, of course, the proposals now from the Obama camp on more things that, that need to be kind of looked at on the Second Amendment. They're whittling away, chiseling away piece by piece the Constitution, and people really, I don't think, really care all that much. I think that they thrive on the idea that government will always be there to back them up, but they're not backing us up.
The government is us.
Yeah, but we're giving consent.
And it's like, my dad retired from Air Force Intelligence.
Right.
And he said, we are losing the Constitution.
Right.
And he was involved with things over there. If he knew a lot.
Well, let me just say this in closing, because we're out of time. But the truth is that we are giving consent to the dark entanglements, because we know that symbolism, we know that words, we know that doublespeak, agitprop, all these things are using against us. We respond to more so than we respond to hope and love and tolerance. We respond to the preachers who say we should kill homosexuals. We respond to the imams that say we should kill homosexuals. And soon we'll be responding in like and in kind, where we say kill certain religions we don't agree with, kill certain colors we don't like, kill everything until there's nothing left for us to kill. And that is the whisperings, my friends, of Satan. We'll be back. You are listening to Ground Zero Continuum. Please don't call. This is a pre-recorded show. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and it's not a pre-recorded show. We just had a technical difficulty there that fired on accident. But we are live right now on Ground Zero, the local edition of the show. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. So, tossing around some ideas tonight and realizing that perhaps the dark entanglements themselves could be part of a psychological, or wait a minute, let's try that again. How about a spiritual disease of some kind? We are, and it's been talked about like in movies like The Matrix and several other philosophical books, postmodern books, that we are an energy source. We are transmitters. We absorb information. We pass along information. We use our computers to send out viral videos. We do a lot of interesting things as humankind as we communicate. That's one of the things that makes us different. We learn to talk. We learn to exchange. But as our energy systems are open, how we don't have anything that'll protect us from some sort of interdimensional parasite or something that, once again, throws us into a dark entanglement, we find that proof of such an event or such an activity is becoming more and more predominant. We go through ancient history, current history, religious and spiritual teachings, secret school teachings, hidden societal teachings. Every form of social and psychological framework is pointing to the idea that unless we change the health psychologically of where we are and who we are, we will be under the hand of massive abuse, catastrophe, and philosophical upheaval, if not civil upheaval, physical upheaval, changes that we will not like. There's clearly an opposition. There's clearly a contrarian current, basically standing up for things we don't like or standing against things we don't like rather than standing up for things we do like and we want to see being put into our lives, sharing things, being instinctive, creative, loving. Most of these things are trapped somewhere, and they're having a hard time. The endeavor to bring them into our lives is having a problem. I mean, this isn't just opposition. It's coordinated. Coordinated, planned, and also conjured. To say that, the movie The Conjuring 2, it is a conjuring of some kind. It's an inspired, coordinated enemy of mankind, continually acting against our best interests. I mean, you can look at all of the abusive dynamics. You can look at all of what I call the destructive dynamics and the systems that are being weaved or being sewn into our societal fabric. And as you see them being entered into this, it's like, needles going in, sewing it up, stitching it up. And whether it's education the way it is now, so we see how education is actually changing the way our children see things. We have a highly controlled and compartmentalized media. This is why, and we've had a lot of callers tonight talk about this, this is why we see a lot of misdirection, a lot of obfuscation, and it's being engineered. We have highly toxic opinions and ideologies that are fighting against one another, and for some reason we thrive on these things, even though we see that the toxicity is killing people, killing families, and this goes for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to even, I know that we all want to pick on Muslims and say that Muslims kill, and they kill. We know they kill. We just saw the example of how they kill or how extremist Muslims kill. But we need to get to the root of this, and we have a toxic manipulation going on from all sides. One has far more lethal results than the other, granted, okay? We don't see our own faults. We see the faults of others because they're easily detected and seen. We don't want to see our own faults, but we notice that the frequency of killing going on with Muslim extremists is exponential. We notice now, though, that there are attacks on human beings, again, for reasons that are simply that we don't agree with them. And therefore, with all of the non-agreement and once again, standing against rather than standing for, we can safely say that our planet is under attack by something. Some opposing force, some dark entanglement. Humanity now is at a serious crossroads. The Earth situation is, it's profoundly important that we understand how we are and where we are in and fully grasp what's going on here. We need to understand that we are resources that are being harvested. And it is extremely compelling to hear the voices of people who are calling in tonight, giving their accounts of having their energies, having their souls in the battle, spiritual warfare, fighting against the spiritually wicked in high places, not fighting against flesh and blood, but what can be ideologies, philosophies, things that are beyond material. It is a psycho-spiritual environment that we are trying to mend or heal. But we need to understand how parasites or things that are like mosquitoes sucking our life's blood from us, they try to manage us. They are managing us and growing us to be resources. It's essential to their empowerment, and it destroys your empowerment. And I can't say this any more plainer, that it is important that we look at what is negative. And there's been a lot of negativity lately, and for good reason. When you're scared, when you're angry, yes, negativity is most certainly something that we express. But, more and more people now are refusing to open up all angles of a story because it most certainly makes them feel uncomfortable to know that they're being screwed. It makes them uncomfortable to know that their government doesn't care. It makes one uncomfortable to know that they are nothing more than collateral damage in this psycho-spiritual warfare. And from the psycho-spiritual, the psychokinetic, we see physical destruction. We see a kind of an inside detonation of what is our government, our world, we are in an interdimensional conflict of some sort. And we are at a battle right now for our survival, consciously as well as physically. And I don't know if anyone can see a deeper dynamic that is happening. And it's not just me saying there's a devil, or Clyde always worries about the devil. He's so satanically conflicted. No, it's not it at all. I think that if we could understand the concept of entropy, and you'll see the entropic breakdown of everything around you, and we would see different reactions if people would understand the destructive process, or would see it and call it out. The destructive process that we are witnessing is releasing energy for a much deeper purpose, and that is for the dark entanglement processes to begin. This is how the magicians operate. This is how darker magicians create the human alchemy. And we find common threads every time these things happen. We look at symbolism. We draw from the time of year it is, the solstice now, places on the planet, certain numbers. Once again, symbols and numbers and times of year, all symbolic, all common denominators, all common threads. Not everything is manipulated for bad, but we can see that there are a lot of people out there that do want to manipulate the world for bad because they think they're doing something constructive. And the reality is they're basically creating a vibration and frequency dynamic that is destroying everything around us. And I think we need to find ourselves in a situation where we're knowledgeable and we use that knowledge to liberate us from this insidious prison, psycho-spiritual prison that they are building around us now. The ones in the practitioners of dark entanglement, those in government, those in the technocracy, those who wish for oligarchy, those who wish to eliminate your ability to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so it's no wonder that we're hearing about possessions. It's no wonder we're hearing about hauntings. It's no wonder we're hearing about all of this bad mojo going on around us. Because somehow we have neglected to raise a generation of spiritual workers that we can consciously count on to keep this planet safe and secure. We're out of control. But someone out there will be able to put us in that control, and it's not going to be empowering, and it's not going to be good for anyone. So look around you. Understand the frequency of murders, the frequency of death, the frequency of these shootings. Understand the frequency of hate speech. Understand the frequency of people angry at something intangible, and they can't define what they're angry at. They just know that they put it on the heads of a certain religious group or a certain ethnic group. I don't know what it'll take. But we need to understand how to empower ourselves. Even I'm trying to figure it out. But in the meantime, people are having experiences that are very real. Contact with evil, contact with possession, contact with dark entities, parasitic entities that are laboring hard and long for your destruction. It's an infiltration that we cannot identify just by seeing it. It's something that we have to experience. And all of us, I think, are having the experience. Some of us react differently. Others know that it's hard to get ahead when something is afoot. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101. This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Clyde Lewis, you're listening to Ground Zero. This from Scott. Email. Clyde, today the Supreme Court, in effect, overruled the Fourth Amendment. You heard the phrase stitched up? Now the police can, and it will stop us to do a search. Even when the stop was illegal, we will be prosecuted for whatever is found or planted on us. Very satanic actions in the Supreme Court. There you go. 888-673-3700. Let's go to Brenda in Texas. Hi, Brenda. You're on Ground Zero.
Yes, Clyde, thanks for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
We lose you on the air here on the radio at midnight for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
If I could take your answer while I'm on the phone.
Sure.
I've been very nervous about this. I haven't been outside. I want to look at the moon. I always like to look at stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
But something's telling me, don't go look at it. And I wanted your opinion.
I think you should go look at it.
Would it be better not to look at the moon, like if the moon might affect us?
If I were you, I would look at the moon, And I would look at the moon and be grateful for the beauty that is that moon, and I would pray that things will not become dark and tangled, and that the psycho-spiritual warfare that we're in the middle of right now will die down a bit, and that there will be no problems. But at least say a prayer for your own safety and look up and try to have a little hope. I think we lose hope around these times because of some of this bad stuff that is committed. And so I would say, yes, look up at the moon and say a little prayer to yourself, and I think you'd feel a lot better about yourself.
Say a prayer to the moon, too.
Well, don't pray to the moon. Just say a prayer to God while you're looking at the moon.
To God. I have been, I guess I have a lot to learn, but I keep the Bible open, and it takes me a long time to go through even a column, in the Bible, because I just ponder on it until it finally, that's what it might take me 3 months,
Well,
but that's God helping me. You just can't read the Bible. You have to.
Well, you have to read the Bible. You have to understand it. A lot of people don't understand it, but I would say just continually expand your mind on things that are for good. But you also have to know in a psycho-spiritual war type of event, which we're in the middle of now, you have to know your enemy. And you have to know that things can get pretty scary and pretty dark before the dawn.
Yeah.
But the light is always promised. Remember that. The light, Brenda, the light is always promised to us. Whenever the darkness happens, we always have the promise of light. We always have the promise of rejuvenation, a resurrection, a rise to the moment. And yes, we are heading into a time, the solstice is a time where rituals will be had, and perhaps there'll be rituals for chaos, and we'll be seeing more of this psychological religious warfare going on, with hatred spewing from the pulpits and from the synagogues and from the mosques. And this is something that we need to be aware of, and we need to cut it down.
In the end, God sends his soldiers, and he tells us to go hide, so we don't get hurt. That's in Revelation.
Well, and you can also call upon those warriors. I don't know if we're that
far to that. This may be because it's just going to get worse for us here. That may be in the distance.
Well, it'll be temporary. Let's just put it that way. Things are temporary in that regard, and I think that unless they want to continue to beat us senseless with all the trauma they can until we give and knuckle under, I would say that there's always the ability to gain strength in numbers, have our individual things that we most certainly contribute, but to move forward and not be afraid and not give consent to this abuse that we're in the middle of, and not give consent to those who want to create hatred and foulness that is going to send us on a direct descendant type of.
We have to keep.
What? Go ahead.
We have to keep love in our hearts continually.
Yes, I agree, Brenda. Thank you.
I used to be that way, and I think I didn't. And I always believed in God, but I wasn't reading my Bible. But,
well, I would say, Brenda, you continue to be that way. You continue to be steadfast. But yeah, look up at the moon tonight. Say a prayer. Otherwise, it'll get pretty spooky if you don't. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to Keith, calling in from Texas tonight. Hi, Keith. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Clyde. How are you tonight?
Doing great.
It's a beautiful night, and as a matter of fact, I went out about an hour ago, and I looked at the moon, and man, that's a beautiful moon, and it is one of God's creations, and it is so beautiful, and this world is so beautiful and is so lovely, and there are many beautiful things here in the world, especially us humans, and your program this evening, tonight, talks about people who are afflicted with demons and entities that, make them sick and make them crazy or what have you. And I would like to say, give you back in 1984, here in San Antonio, I had just rented an apartment, and I walked into the apartment, and I felt a foreboding presence, and I talked to my friends about it, and I said, "Man, there's something wrong here. It was a nice apartment. It was a clean apartment. It was very nice, but there was something, a presence, and they just said, "Oh, Keith, you just joshing or whatever. You're just, you're fahooey, whatever." And anyway, so what happened was, it was my apartment. I lived there by myself, and after several nights, I kept on feeling this presence of darkness, of something overpowering me, especially when I slept, and I just started praying, I believe in Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world. And I kept repeating that over and over again, verbally, out loud. I believe in Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world. And after about 20 minutes, I heard there was something that left the apartment out the door. It was, oh man, it was, I felt like it was two demons or entities or whatever. They screamed. They were loud, man. They screamed. It was voices, two separate voices, and they left the apartment. And after that, I felt better, and I enjoyed the apartment where I lived there. I lived there for about a year, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mr. Clyde, I truly believe that this world that we live in now is being overcome with the forces of darkness, yet at the same time, each individual, whether they are Christian, Buddhist or Hindu or Muslim or whatever faith they are, we all have to believe in the light. And I believe that Jesus is the light. Jesus, and in him there is no darkness. And through him we have redemption, and we have consolation and peace of mind for our souls.
Well,
and Jesus, yes, sir.
I was going to say, let's just hope that people, you have your testifying that you're doing, but let's hope that people truly believe that, because it just seems to me anymore that a lot of times people give lip service to this. I know, hearing your voice, you're not. I know that you are testifying, and I know that you feel moved by the Spirit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be telling me these things. But I'm very concerned for what I'm hearing, though, from this particular group that believe that they have God on their side to declare death warrants on people because of their sexual orientation or because of what they believe or what they think, their political views. And I don't think God cares. And that's how I feel about that. I don't think really God cares, because, I think God wants us all to be happy and to basically, as you say, take in the beauty of the earth, the beauty of the moon, and the beauty of people. So, Keith, I thank you so much for giving your thoughts on the matter. Really positive. Thank you so much.
Well, sir, Mr. Clyde, can I say this?
Sure.
Mr. Clyde, hello?
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
Yes, God is love. And that's what I have to say.
I thank you, Keith.
God is love.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Clyde. I like your program. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more calls right here on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. There you have Keith, who said that he had an experience with what he felt was a dark entity, a dark entanglement, and that he is so overjoyed with the fact that he's come through it, that he was giving his witness and testimony to everyone about how he feels that God has brought him from the darkness. A lot of people feel that way. I would like to know, though, how people can justify bringing darkness into the pulpit and speaking crap from the pulpit. Because that happened just the other day with this Sacramento Jimenez ass clown who has no business saying that he's a part of God when he's really preaching the word of Satan and the word of death and destruction. So, anyway, yeah, Jimenez, if you hear me and you're listening to me, you're an ass clown. Thanks. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL. This is Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Okay, let's go to Jack in Texas. Hi, Jack. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hi. A lot of what this dark stuff comes from is hate. Okay. How hate is manifested, it doesn't really matter. It just needs to be there. Ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. Pick someone to be mad at for whatever religious, racial, whatever reason. You have hate. Now you have the key ingredient of the emotion to use. But you can get rid of it too. Demonic stuff like that. Church is important, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't want to speak for every single church, but anybody having a religion is a good thing. Because you need to be, from a Christian standpoint, you need to be filled with the Holy Spirit. Because there's your energy, there's your fuel. Mm-hmm. But you still need to do something with it. Okay? Now you have to think like a practitioner. A practitioner is, just for this mindset, has goals and aims to exploit whatever means necessary to accomplish them. They don't care what type of trickery, deception, whatever. And it's consuming. I remember I had this one year where at the very end, my house burned down, car flipped over. Mm-hmm. I almost died. Instead, my friend died 2 weeks later from the same cause, almost drowned. He drowned. Demonic possession. When something is trying to pull on your soul and you feel like you are disoriented, almost like you can physically see your body but numbs those right eyes, you have to fight that. And the only way you can fight that is not with sea salt. Crosses will help. But you have to do something. Newton's law of physics, you have to force, an action has to happen. Mm-hmm. You internalize all of this energy, and you pull it in, and you keep pulling it in, and you do not stop. And then you internalize it and explode it around you, everywhere. Almost like a karmic bomb. I say karmic bomb for a reason. Lots of spells are based on that. Bad ones. Mm-hmm. If someone wants to hurt you, they can remind you of the things that you've already done. The Bible is a very good spell book.
It is a spell book. It is a spell book if you turn it into a spell book. I've talked many times about, prayers of, like, for example, praying for the death of your enemies is a backfiring spell, which I think, yes. I believe it's a backfiring spell. People will disagree with me on that. I mean, praying for the deaths of anyone, including your enemies, is a backfiring spell. It's a spell that will come back and you practice left-handed path. You know how this works.
If you invoke a bunch of demons and one of them happens to be laziness and you forget to get rid of it and you leave the cat ears on the property and your house burns down and the fire is aiming at the direction of where you left the ingredients, I would say that's a surefire sign if something's not right.
Mm-hmm. I would say yes. I would say, I mean, it just seems to me that I think more and more people need to be paying attention to what they can do individually with their own spiritual well-being rather than judging people on their spiritual well-being.
From road rage to racism, people have to control their anger because we are all guilty of it. I don't care what your race, religion, or any of that is. We're all guilty of some type of either a superiority complex or whatever. I'm better than or holier than thou than whoever else. Perhaps these yachts do have, like, some type of point of view and we're not listening to them. Whatever. I do get this point. They are riled up and fueled by hate. And I know this. I've seen it before. Okay? It's the only thing that empowers them. It's the only thing that's going to keep them going. And anybody can volunteer to just join the hate bandwagon. That's the problem.
Right.
And if you're not smart enough to realize you're just going to get burned, don't do it.
Right. Well, I mean, people are going to have to learn, and we have to reach rock bottom before we learn anything, as far as I'm concerned. And you know, and the thing is that even people who practice left-hand path, you know, they're not even as bad as those who go beyond left-hand path, who go underneath the left hand all the way down to the feet, and have decided to raise the type of chaos and the dark entanglements to a point of a heated pitch. I mean, most left-hand practitioners aren't even close to the powers that are being held by those who are in positions where they can make changes, and like popes and cardinals and politicians. And that's the thing I think people need to understand is that, you know, and then when I get calls from left-handed path people will tell me, oh, you're really just, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. You're spreading fear. I go, no, I know what I'm talking about, because I wouldn't consider you, even if you practice the left-handed path, as someone's even making a difference. I mean, the people who are making a difference are ones with money, power, and are being completely backed up by bankers and backed up by those who can be movers and shakers. If we're moving and shaking the planet in the direction of darkness, then hey, we're giving consent to it. If we see something wrong, we should say something about it and do something about it.
Well, someone said magic and science, you know, electronics, for example, are indistinguishable. Okay, well, a political power that is evil is still just as indistinguishable, because you have a leverage of force and a multiplied result comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not good, they're not on your side. They're not your friends.
Right.
And we got to throw them out, you know. But we have all these guys in office with 25 years that... What was going on 25 years ago? Different politics.
Yeah, well, yeah, different politics. In fact, everything we're doing now is post 9/11, post fear. We're still fearful. I don't even know if we can say post fear. We're still in the middle of fear. We're still in the middle of making knee-jerk decisions. We're making emotional arguments, not ones based
Fear
on
is a
fact
very
or critical
powerful
thinking.
emotion.
What's that? No, it is very powerful. And in fact, it's
you can
the
induce
lowest
fear
emotion.
into yourself and control it.
Well, it's the lowest
not a good
emotion.
thing.
It's the lowest emotion to exploit. I mean, it's the easiest to exploit is fear.
Exactly. The frequency itself is lower. I mean, it doesn't take much more power to control it. It's hard. The hardest thing, the most powerful thing anybody can do is to contain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is the greatest test for individual people. Do not exploit your power. Do good things with it.
Right. And some people don't even let it work. They don't think they have any power. Who am I? I can't do anything. Because we're told that it's all part of the group and not part of the individual. We need to get back to individualism. We need to get back to thinking that we mean something. And then if we mean something, that our life has value, that we value our lives, that maybe we can take the value we have in our lives and help other people realize their value as well. It's like being on a crashing plane. When the oxygen masks drop, you put on your mask first, then you help someone else with theirs.
Yeah, I agree. There's more on that anyways, but sorry, I really like you a lot, and I'm really glad to be talking to you. It's really cool. Thank you. I just want to say that real quick.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm glad you were able to get in. I know your call's been dropping.
That symbolism, a lot of it, even if it's fake, it's there to trigger psychological reactions, so that when you instantaneously see it, you may think something as soon as this light reflects off this crystal when you drop it on accident that was not faded near like some suspicious place like a gravestone or something like that, and you see a blue flash. Well, you just psychologically created something on accident.
Well, that's why we have flags and seals. That's why we have Obama symbols with the sunshine and the red stripes. That's why we have Pepsi symbols. That's why we have all these other symbols. They mean something. They represent something, whether it be an egregore as obvious or maybe not as obvious. But the thing is that when we manifest things in our own minds and we bring them to manifestation, or we bring them to fruition, tulpamancing, as we call it, we hope we're bringing the right tulpas into the world, because anything else would be destructive to our well-being. Hey, Jack, I'm out of time. I really appreciate you calling in tonight, man.
Oh, man, I wish I could talk to you more. Symbols. Every practitioner has their own symbol.
That's right. Sigils, symbols, everything. I thank you for calling, buddy.
Thank you. You have a great one.
You bet. 888-673-3700. That's 673-3700. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Tonight, I think we've jumped around a bit about the psychological and spiritual warfare that is happening now. Fighting many battles we have philosophically, ideologically, being bombarded with all kinds of different dynamics that are putting us in a position to fight back mentally, I hope. We have to learn to know our true identity as an individual, yet be a part of a group that wants to continue and wants to thrive. The fear-based dynamic, the hate-based dynamic, causes humankind to wilt. People sometimes choose not to be informed or empowered, and they encourage the wrong type of sentiment. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but what I mean is the type of sentiment that completely undermines us. It basically encourages the imposed parasitic control system we're living in now. We're not just observers, and you can't be an innocent bystander anymore. We have to be the practitioners of the same type of entanglement, but not a dark entanglement. We need to identify specifically our oppressors. And we need to look at them as, well, we need to look at them as a way to learn and also understand what we don't want to be. We need to find some sense of consciousness connection. And in the conscious connection has to basically attach itself to something that would be of positive nature. I'm not saying that we all should just wither away and be like rainbows, puppies, and unicorns. I mean, we just need to say to ourselves that we're honestly sick of psychos in human form running us because they're ugly, they're sick, they're shallow, and they're the weak ones because they hide behind their hate speech. They hide behind their murders. They hide behind their criminal activities. The power of the so-called enemy attempting to oppress us is ultimately of our complacent making. Complacency? Why? Are we afraid? Maybe. Their only power is that which we empower them with. Without us, they have nothing. And we shouldn't be so willing to give up that power. And we shouldn't be so willing to believe their brainwashing tactics. That's important. Jack in California on Ground Zero.
Well, so I was on hold. I was listening to the local weather. They were talking about the full moon tonight, and they referred to it as the strawberry moon. It is the first time we've had this full strawberry moon on a summer solstice since 1948. That's 68 years ago.
Right. I said 70 years, but 68. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I didn't know you mentioned that.
Yeah, I said 70, but since you got it down to 68, I stand corrected. But I was giving it a rough estimate. I wasn't really sure of the complete date.
Right. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, you were talking about swastikas.
Swastikas, yes,
Yeah, well, one of the things I do is I collect antiques.
Yes.
And I do have an Indian basket with a swastika. It's an old one. And I have some old American pottery, which is about 150 years old. It's kind of a blue salt glaze, and one piece is they used for butter, and another piece I have they use for salt, and they're both decorated with swastikas. And what's interesting is I also have an American, I think it's a paratrooper medal from World War I with a swastika. What's interesting is in all those cases, the swastika goes in a different direction, an opposite direction to the German swastika. I don't know if that's significant, but
well, it's significant because when they designed the swastika for the German flag and for the Nazi Party, they bent it. They basically bent it in a direction that made it look like it was constantly moving or constantly marching, and that is why it's an effective symbol. It's because for some reason our brain is still trying to place it in the correct position, and so while we're looking at it, it appears to move, not consciously, but it does to our unconscious mind appear to move. It was the most interesting form of symbolism, sigilism ever created and actually brought upon us. And that's what makes it so compelling and sickening at the same time.
Right. And you also brought up the assassination plot against Trump.
Yes, I did.
And the perpetrator was a British citizen. He's been in the country for a year and a half, and he's overstayed his visa.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two things interesting about this. Is for all the people in the United States that overstay their visa, they only catch 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the other interesting aspect of this is they just had a political assassination in Britain.
Yes, they did.
And I believe it was a member of Parliament. And, it was significant because the lady that was assassinated was... her position was for England staying in the European Union.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a sympathy vote. Is probably going to sway the vote that they're going to have, I believe, on Thursday.
And probably well planned, too.
You agree, too, that it'll probably sway the vote for Britain to stay in the European Union?
It may, but I'm thinking that what a great way of using reverse psychology on the people. That would be very interesting to see, what that type of false flag activity would be to create that sympathy.
Well, England is an anomaly because it's the only country that's part of the European Union that isn't completely all in because they kept their currency. They didn't accept the euro. They still use the British pound sterling. And they kept the Bank of England, which is their central bank. And that is significant because they still have the power to print money. All the other countries in the European Union accepted the European Central Bank and the euro, and guess what? They lost the ability to print their way out of their sovereign debt. So it's going to be interesting, but I'll predict that they'll vote, England will vote to stay in the European Union. It's part of the conspiracy to eventually have a one-world government to hold that union together. But the reason why I called is because you were talking about dark events on a summer solstice with a strawberry moon.
Mm-hmm.
And something interesting happened today, and that is the campaign manager for Donald Trump was fired.
Yeah.
There's a backstory to this that hasn't really been put out. And Trump and his campaign manager were very close, and they had can't come up with a strategy to put Hillary on the defensive. Trump was going to announce that if he becomes president, he was going to request that Congress give him a formal declaration of war against ISIS. And his children were opposed to this. And it looks like the children won out. That they wanted the campaign manager that was part of this strategy fired. And I don't think Trump's going to go down that road now.
Interesting.
Well, here was the theory. The theory is that it would put Hillary on the defensive. It would put her, because they were under the assumption that Hillary would never come out for a formal declaration of war against ISIS. I mean, the left doesn't even want to call it for what it is. They don't want to even talk about, radical Islamic terrorism, let alone back any kind of formal declaration of war against ISIS. So it would put her in a position of coming out almost against the war on terror. It would be a defining moment.
you heard the theory as to why they don't acknowledge terrorism? You ever heard the theory as to why they don't acknowledge it fully?
Well, I'd like to hear your take on it.
Well, it's a theory. It's not my take. It's a theory. And that is that what it would do is it would draw attention to the failed diplomacy in the Middle East that Barack Obama has championed for the past 8-9 years he's been in office. It would basically, to have this terrorism, calling it terrorism, Islamic terrorism, radicalized terrorism, would make the Obama administration look bad because it is what is going on in Syria that is creating this new terrorism.
Well, I think that the reason why I think the left doesn't want to recognize it for what it is because, look, if Hillary gets in, you're going to continue to have illegal immigration, and you're going to continue to have the Muslims immigrate here legally, and the refugees that are Muslim are going to continue to come here in greater numbers, and it's part of the diversity program. It's part of breaking down borders, and it's part of the strategy that leads to a one-world government. And I think both sides, left and right, are behind that concept, but the left, I think, more so. And I don't know who's going to win out in the end, but it appears that right now, it appears that the position of the left is winning out. I personally can't believe that a majority of Americans want to continue on this policy of bombing the Middle East and at the same time bringing people from the Middle East to live in this country by the hundreds of thousands.
It just guarantees a more war footing, and it's job security is what it is. That's what they're doing. You bomb the hell out of these countries, you then bring the refugees here, the refugees are angry, and then they start war in the backyard of the United States of America, creating a reason to have a all-and-out police state and battlefield front in the United States. It's obvious that's what they're doing. And anyone who says but it's all humanitarian. It's not humanitarian. It's doom. They're doing this as another one of those tension strategies is what it is.
Well, and I think I'm under the theory that the United States government allowed 9/11 to happen, and that they also allowed this latest shooting in Orlando to happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, in both cases, they had ample warning. You know that they say if you see something, say something. Well, here you had the people that were working with the Orlando shooter calling the FBI for remarks that he made. You had a gun store owner calling the FBI because he was suspicious. The FBI had interviewed him 3 different times. And, you know, if we're not more sophisticated than this after 9/11, it looks like we are intentionally letting these events happen just to keep the war on terror going. That's why I say this is a war without end. And that was part of Trump's strategy, was that he was going to come out and say, I want this declaration of war because I want to end the war on terror, because I know as long as we're shoveling trillions of dollars to the war on terror, we're not even going to be able to rebuild the infrastructure in this country. Well, and that's it. It's the idea that, we have fed into, as I've said, these so-called dark entanglements. We have allowed ourselves to be beguiled into war. We used to, if we won a war, we felt good about ourselves. Now we don't feel good until we start one. That certainly is a black mark on the United States. We now know what we stand against, but not very many people willing to stand up and say what they're for. We have a president that won't acknowledge a lot of what is known as Islamic terror. Why? Because that would immediately draw attention to the fact that he has failed in his attempt to curtail or otherwise succeed in curtailing terrorism because of what he's doing in the Middle East with Syria, literally screwing that up, causing problems. We've had the Russian
president extend his hand to Barack Obama. Obama looks at his hand and just sneers at it. And then he says, well, okay, if not Obama, let's talk to Trump. And then everybody else is sneering at Trump saying, well, what does this mean if he's liked by Putin? We have got so much Cold War paranoia confusion. The Cold War's over. The war on terror has been extended. And the leadership doesn't know what boogeyman to create next. And so instead of creating an external boogeyman, they want to create an internal boogeyman. And it'll be every single one of us being under the microscope of the government and under the police state and the dragnet that they're creating. So this is what the future is.
Trump alluded to these, I don't know how to put it, like the strange behavior of President Obama and what his motives might be. And of course, I think a lot of people realized he was suggesting that the president might be a traitor.
Well, of course, a lot of people have been suggesting that. But see, that's the thing, is that, in fact, Scott Baio came on.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up real quick is that last time we talked about the 911 conversations between the shooter and the police.
Right.
And you see what happened today. They released a redacted version. Mm-hmm. They took a transcript. They took a lot for that. Then they released the unredacted version. But my question to you is, why do you think that they just don't release the actual conversation?
Because he never said what they said he said. He never said what they said he said. That's why. They lied, and now... I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. Let's go to Dave now. Calling from Florida. Hi, Dave. You're on Ground Zero.
Clyde, what a strange day. And until you said about the 70 years for the full moon on the solstice and 3 bad traffic incidents today. They were all black guys, and I was in my white van going down the road, and one cut across and just almost wrecked me out. And I got next to him at the light. I just finally pulled up and said, "Are you nuts, man?" And he pulled a gun out of the console, little race car, Charger cars, and then he just took off.
Wow.
And it happened like 2 other times today, but everybody is just, there's a pressure, like I can feel it, so everybody's mad, mean, or something.
Well, this morning right off the bat, I posted something on Facebook, and immediately people were attacking it. I'm like, "Wow, hold on." I'm not, they were telling me, because I was saying, somebody had told me about these demon photos they took after seeing Conjuring 2. And they said, "Why are you talking about boring movies like that one? I slept through it. It sucked." I'm like going, God, man, I haven't even seen it yet. I'm going to go see it. I didn't think it was a bad film. It sucked. Everything sucks. It sucks. And you're like, geez, man. It's like, I'm sorry I even brought it up. Let me go get some caffeine in me so no one gets hurt.
I'm having coffee right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, one thing, but when the reality comes to you and it's all over the place, like, why is everybody getting weirded out today? And maybe this is it.
Yeah,
there's too many things in that Bible is coming true, and maybe this is the pressure we need that's going to really push it over the edge. And
You know, I was told, and I'm sure you were when you were a kid, told your whole life when you were going to Sunday school, you're going to see the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm thinking, yeah, okay. I hope it's going to be fun. I hope it's going to be interesting. Then I got older and realized, no, it's not going to be that fun. And it's going to be interesting, but it's going to hurt a little. And now I'm getting older and I'm realizing, ooh, it's getting spooky. It's not hurting. It's spooky. And pretty soon I'll be downright terrified. I'm not even going to leave my house. That's how weird it's going to be. I'll say, hey, I'm setting up studio in my house. I'm not leaving anywhere. So there you go.
I don't think his clock works with ours, and 400 years is nothing to him, or a million years when he shows up.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of surprised folks standing around going, wow.
Anyway, Dave, thank you for your call. I really appreciate it.
Okay. God bless.
Care. You too. Bye-bye. Let's go to Chris in Oregon. Hi, Chris. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. Thank you for being accessible, man.
You bet.
Your program tonight brought to mind an episode from the original Star Trek series where the Enterprise gets confronted by a large spherical moon-like planet, and the image on the view screen is this scary, demonic alien sort of guy, and of course they get out of that jam, transport over, find out that the guy's friendly, and it's Clint Howard made up as a little bald dude.
Oh, yeah. Is that Valak? Was that alien?
How they pronounced it, but yeah.
It was an alien that wasn't a real alien. He was just this scary-looking, menacing alien.
It was a puppet, basically, or a mannequin.
Yeah, and then Clint Howard shows up, and he's like... He's
just all friendly and joking, and the show ends. He's giving him a tour of the ship.
You know, in reality, I mean, Valak does look like Clint Howard, especially a little Clint Howard. So, I mean...
That's what kicked it off for me. You know, I was going along with it, and then like, wow, yeah, okay.
That's great.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that. A little bit on the lighter side.
So once again, another coincidence. A big moon, they see, and then of course an alien face, and of course it's kind of a metaphoric demon face, and then they finally meet up with what's behind it. It's a little pudgy faced character named Valak, who of course Valak, the real demon, has a pudgy face and wings, and basically is the captain and general of more than 30 legions of demons. So there you go.
Yeah. So enjoy the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the synchronicity. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to Tim in Kentucky. Hi, Tim. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde.
What's up?
Couple of things happened when I was a child. One of them was that whenever I go to sleep, there's these red dots just appear out of nowhere all over my walls. It was so soothing. And then one day it's gone. And shortly after, with no red dots, nothing, and I'm staring in the corner, and it's dark, and then the corner is darker, and then all of a sudden, a shadowy figure just popped up in the corner, like a man with a robe and a hat, and in a deep voice, kind of echo, it said his name was Zeppelin. And of course, I tried to scream and I couldn't do it. My body was stiff, it was frozen. And I was wondering if you heard anything about a demon named Zeppelin.
I've never heard of a demon named Zeppelin. That's new to me. I'm sure I could do some, maybe some research, but no, I've never heard of that before.
Okay.
Are you sure it was Zeppelin or something else?
I'll never forget it. It's just like, I'm Zeppelin. And
Zeppelin.
More laughs, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared back into the ground.
Because there's actually a demon named So-So, which is a symbol on his Zeppelin 4 album. If that helps you. Led Zeppelin, So-So. I don't know. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Versus Led Zeppelin songs or something.
Well, it's just Zoso is the symbol. The Zoso, the demon Zoso, Z-O-Z-O, is the symbol of him is on the Zeppelin 4 album, on Led Zeppelin 4. So, I mean, if you want to look at the Zoso image and try, maybe that's what he meant by "my name is Zeppelin." Who knows? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I'm out of time. I'm out of time, Tim. I got to run, but I thank you for your call. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. Probably Zoso. Zoso is a very pervasive demon, by the way. Pretty amazing. Anyway, 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101, KXL. More with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
All right. Go to Manny in Washington. I'm Manny. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm calling because I believe that some of the rituals and stuff with summer solstice and everything not only applies to events and stuff and to try to change time, but also so that the spirits that have no form, possibly of the Nephilim, could find a host of a human, of people that are of a certain bloodline, to come back over and over. And I think some of the ancient manuscripts are more like instructions.
That's a good idea, especially when you see how the royals, you look at the royals, you look at other people in places of power, they all seem to have their doppelgangers, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, and, you know, and some of their stuff is repeating. Also, gates are opening, and just before, I'm kind of nervous, because just before today, I've been getting like all kinds of strange visions and stuff, and one of them was like, oh, this whole thing had something to do with Eve, you know, and a lot of things were planned out on both sides, and you know, I think what's happening is there's a battle of realities also, and the Nephilim, when they had their 500 years, they talk about people in Revelation, the book of Enoch, that there's people are knocking at the gates and then the wall at the end of time and they can't get in.
Well, and that's been going on. That's been going on for centuries or millennia. And not only that, but there's always been the case of trying to thwart the bloodlines and those divine bloodlines that have made us who we are. And that, too, is also an ongoing battle. Jared in Oregon, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Jared. Go ahead quickly. Go ahead.
Oh. Hi, this is Jared, and I've been having issues for about a year now.
Uh-huh.
I was walking in the river, and I fell down and broke my butt. But the crazy stuff is that I was told not to, to slow down, and I decided not to because I was celebrating having a kidney stone. And
what's this got to do with what we're talking about tonight? Go ahead.
Oh, it's got a lot to do with it, but basically I broke my ass. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I got to go to another call. Let's go to Billy in Texas. Hi, Billy. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Great show as always.
Thank you.
First things first, congrats on getting married.
Thank you.
And my heart also goes out to the poor lady. Your precious wife.
You're going to get such a, when I see you, no, go ahead, Billy. You're okay.
Listen, I know we don't have much time. Mark Stein said something Monday morning following the Orlando killings.
What did he say?
I quickly jotted down because I thought it was not only a wise statement, but very unusual of him to say something prophetic. He said, many people don't realize it, but we're all in the midst of an evil party at the end of the world.
Pretty amazing, that quote. Yeah. Amazing stuff.
Really.
That's what it is. It's a party at the end of the world. Ain't drinking tomorrow, you may die. But, that's the thing is I would say that, we don't have to attend the party. They're forcing us to attend the party. And I would say that they're spiking the punch, and we shouldn't drink it. It just seems to me that that's what they want. They want the brainwash, and they want you to follow they want you to follow what they're saying, and they want you to do what they're doing. But I think individualism and independence is something we need to strive for.
Right. Well, you touched on something a while ago. Also, I can only hear one end of the conversation, but you said something about related to the tribulation. And I tell people about the tribulation that want to argue about before and after and middle and all. I say I ain't gonna spend 2 minutes arguing that with you. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go to the Middle East where people are being martyred, and let's find one, and let's say, sir, before the axe falls, tell us, is it going to happen before or after the rapture? And let them tell us.
Right. Let them speak. We need to open our ears and our minds to, what is around us. And I think that there's going to be, as I said, a lot of secrets revealed soon. And I mean, they're not going to be that mind-blowing for some people, but for others, it's going to completely blow their minds and probably throw them off a bit. The paradigm is going to switch on them. They're not going to know what to do about it. So, hey, Billy, I thank you for calling in, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Clyde.
You take care. Bye-bye. Let's go to Steven in Arkansas. Steven, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
How you doing? Quick question. I know you're short on time. All right, we're talking about all this demonic stuff.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I had a dream. I was flying with a dragon. All right.
Yeah.
The earth was rubble. Okay. It was like a big war came. Nothing was left. And he was holding me, and he looked at me, and he said, Stephen, it is not your time. What you had to do has not been done. And I woke up, and I researched it, trying to figure out, dragons mean like good luck in Asian cultures. It also represents Lucifer, which kind of freaked me out.
Right.
Through my childhood, I had dreams with demons chasing me, like my whole childhood, some of my adulthood. Last time I had dreams, about 2 months ago. You can see them everywhere, but I didn't feel threatened. They were looking at me, hiding and stuff. I'd see them in the clouds, watched everything I did. I thought maybe you could give me some insight on that.
Well, dragons aren't necessarily evil in a dream. Dragons represent power a lot of the time. They also represent celestial activity. That's what bearded dragons, especially dragons with beards. I was always afraid of dragons. Who you need to read up on is Louis Turi. If you want to look him up, Louis Turi. That's Lusturi. He talks about dragons. I would email him, and I'm sure he would give you some information on your dragons, because he is a person who interprets dragon dreams, and also he attributes water dragons, fire dragons, wooden dragons, and talks about what years are set aside for each dragon and their power.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet, Steven. Take care.
Thank you for taking my call.
You bet. No problem. No problem. We're out of time. I hear the tinkle music. We're out of time. All right. Wow. What a show tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My show back from my long away when I was with my beautiful wife, Janine. And thank you all for being there tonight. And I think we had a great show tonight. And hopefully expounding more on the topic at hand. Because I believe that we need to prepare ourselves mentally for what's about to go down. I don't even know if anybody can be prepared for that, actually. But we certainly can give it a shot. And we certainly can discuss the things that are very important that the mainstream won't cover and that others won't dare to touch, because we are the ones that are thinking outside the box and speaking to one another and talking about, what's important. A lot of it is deeper than what can be touched in the mainstream, and I really appreciate that. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow night on Ground Zero. Good night.